Another day, another massacre. Not a massacre. Another headache. Yeah. Let me see here. I'm just gonna add some tags to the Twitch. Um. Yeah, I tried Meld actually. Meld is eating. Meld is just eating my CPU. It is actually insane. Where do I add tags? Tags. Politics. Gaming. Gaming. Politics. Gaming. React. Reactions. Okay, done. Right then. So, okay, this is live. This is fine. Gonna put this over here. First things first. I don't think I have anything. I don't think I have anything crafting right now. Flower of Ogam and King of Faridun concept art. Do not care. I was gonna check something real quick just to make sure that I don't have anything crafting that I should be taking care of. Pretty sure farmer will take a bit longer. But you know, like recrafts and stuff like that. And then we'll go into, I want to watch this one. I love people enjoying the new war. And then we're gonna watch the crazy guy. As always. Last time, I'm pretty sure this will be the last time watching crazy guy talking about Ethan Klein. Man, I can't wait for the update. I wanna do a fresh run to see how long it takes to get through New War to 1999. Alright, we have the extractors ready. Bro, this guy's growing old. Like, he's so old now. Slipping in the cold below. Sisters below, below. And I went down below. Down I'll be slipping in the cold below. Should this is just salvage somewhere else? Salvage is always like I run out, so yeah, I feel like that was. Wait, hold up. How about Sedna? Yeah. Okay, Sedna has it. Holy lag, bro. Be slipping in the cold below, below. It's my new favorite song in Warframe. Yeah, I didn't think there was anything. Oh, Magistar. But I don't have the incarnate for it yet. Oh well. Grandal soon. And is my buff already over? Yes, finally, dude. I had like a whole week of affinity booster and like 5 days of like credit booster. Not credit, drops, whatever it's called. Increased drop chance. Rex stick on Last Epoch versus Path of Exile. I love that. I love this video. I think I watched a part of it. I actually want to react to this, not to this specifically. No, no, no. Rax's video. Hi everyone. I want to react to this, because it's like it has a lot to do with me. But anyways, let's start with. Yeah. Okay, let's start with Warframe's masterclass in storytelling. Always love seeing people enjoy the new war. I think this is peak. This is like the peak for Warframe. New War was the peak for Warframe. You know, in terms of storytelling. Yeah, the Kavya was cool. Zeriman was cool. Yeah, don't get me wrong. These are all cool. 999, you know, has its issues, but like I think overall it's cool. And again, they're still sticking within the same storyline, so that's fine. They're just adding more stuff from the sides to the same story, so that's cool. But I feel like everything really happened during New War. It also unlocked the most important content, which is the weekly arcane farm, right? Even though obviously when you do New War, ain't no way you're doing the arcane farm. But hey, you know, here's what it is. So yeah, let's see.
I'm on day 22 of playing. Welcome back, Tenno. I'm on day 22 of playing Warframe for the very
22 for a brand new player. Now I don't know how much he got carried, but 22 days to get to New War is actually decently good. And the only reason I'm saying is because like getting the, what do you call it, the mech, the void rig. Like if most people say it, like it takes a week, but like if you're a brand new player, I don't know if you not have the resources, like the information of where to get it. So 22 days is actually pretty good. Honestly, once you do Warframe, you're technically in endgame. Everything else takes like no time at all.
first time, and I've now completed the much anticipated mission, the New War. You can see any of my past live streams over on my main channel. Just go to my Marlin Games channel.
Oops. Play back.
Click on the live tab and you can go find it. It's day 14 and day 15 to watch when I played the New War. But today I wanted to do a bit more of a curated opinion of the New War and my experience with it as a new player. What I really liked, why I think it's probably a masterclass in how to deliver a story, how to get a player involved in telling a story. What things, and also some criticisms, what things confuse me, and some of the struggles I had.
Oh yeah, confuse you. Yeah, man. Like it's New War is like an information overload, and like a lot of shit will be confusing.
Was going on, but overall, incredibly impressive. Try to remember back to when you first played it, when you first got into Warframe, and what made sense, what didn't make sense, and what you enjoyed about it, what you didn't enjoy about it. This will be a fun video.
Nothing made sense.
We are thrown into a full-scale invasion by the sentient forces, and they really drive home the danger of this threat by letting you play as your other enemies. Starting off with Cull 175 of the Grenier. This is such a fantastic way to just demonstrate how dangerous the sentient force is, because you get to see it from the perspective of your enemies. Like all of a sudden, when off the Tenno fighting the Grenier or the Corvus, like we're all focused on this central threat, and I think that's a really clever way to get you involved. They didn't have to go this hard. They could have done a cutscene. They could have just had you read about it. I mean, that would have been a cutscene at least. They could have left out the cutscene. Yeah, big bad forces inbounds. You know, terrorizing this system. Go do your thing. No, they went above and beyond that and let you play as your previous enemies. Well, I guess it's still your enemies. Plays the Grenier, plays Cull 175, new HUD, new weapons, just to tell that story, just to give you the feeling of the scale of this invasion. I really like how that's also driven home by Cull's like desperation towards the end of his mission, where he's ready to like sacrifice himself to win a battle. I think the only thing that confused me with this like sentient invasion is like, Ballas is pictured on the quest mission, but we see a lot of error in the opening scenes as well. I mean, and Ballas too. So I honestly didn't really understand the relationship between Era, who is a sentient, the son of Hunhao, and Ballas, who's an Orokin, right? Like as a new player, like I hadn't really cemented that relationship.
To be fair, I still don't understand the relationship between them. Like, I understand their alliance. I don't understand where Ballas was this whole time, how he contacted Era, where the fuck Era even came from. Did he come from Tau? Was he hiding on one? Like, this is information just not given. So, like, how are they connected? No one knows. How come Era is even, like, what do you call it? Agreeing to work with Ballas, because Ballas is literally their enemy anyways, even though there's a history of Ballas. I wouldn't even say Ballas worked with Hunhao. It's more like Ballas gave Hunhao information, but there's no like actual alliance like both ways. It was just like, I'm angry at the other Orokin, therefore here's information so you can win the war kind of thing.
In my head, like, why is Ballas the leader of this army? Why is Era working for Ballas kind of deal? Overall, though, I think this is what Digital Extremes does really well, is you get the broad strokes. As a new player, understand the broad stroke, which is like, this is an invasion, it's going to mess everyone up, everyone band together and fight back. I understand that, and they do that really well by letting you play as Cull, and, of course, that would have been enough, to be honest. But you don't just play as a Grenier, you then go on to play as, what's his name? For the Corpus. Viso? And so when you see Viso's name like splash across the screen, you're like, okay, they're doing this. They're going to show us another perspective of this invasion. This time, we're going to see the Corpus's perspective rather than Grenier. And once again, new HUD plays completely different from the Grenier. Like, you're more about controlling these robots. Are they mowers you control as you move around. And the little laser was really good. It felt like Star Wars. It felt like a better Star Wars, to be honest. It felt like a good Star Wars game.
I'm actually surprised after the New War, they didn't rework minion builds to have something like this, like give orders to minions. I'm actually like surprised they still don't have an actual minion frame where like you actually play with minions. Like your whole thing is minions, right? Like pure minion frame, right? I'm actually like, I'm surprised they don't have that. And it's like you can say, oh, Necros is minions. Like, yeah, but that's not exactly what I mean. It's like, yeah, he summons minions, but let's be real, they're kind of fucking useless. Okay. Talk about you have companions. Like, yeah, but you don't really control them, right? I'm saying like, you bring minions, like you give them frenzy or whatever, like on a cooldown, or like they create, like they do something around you, like they protect you, whatever. Like using actual, like an actual kind of like necromancer, not necrosmancer.
Not only that, Viso is like his own character within this, and it does such a good job at telling his story. Like, he's very much what I wouldn't think of as a typical corpus. I don't know if this is in the lore. I don't know if this is like a new player problem, but when you think of the corpus, you don't think of characters like Viso that are empathetic and want to do the right thing. You think of greedy scumlords, right? So seeing his journey and then how he betray might be a strong word, defies.
Yeah, I think this is the first time that corpus seem human, I guess. Like you feel like they're humans, like they it's not just like a cult of profit. I mean it is, but it's like they're not like like just slaves to profit. Like they do have some autonomy and all this stuff. Also, by the way, that's like nice eyes. Visa, I love you. Rest in peace. But yeah, this is the first time, and then the second time you see it during Jade, I believe, right? Where I guess she looks like a sister. I guess she's not a sister though. She lets the stalker walk away with a baby because it is a baby. But yeah.
And rather than join the sentient forces, which you think would be a corpus kind of thing to do, he fires a laser or the weapon at the sentient ship. So really nice story to follow through with, different gameplay style. Once again, just really telling the story of how epic this invasion is. That's the main point of these little mini stories from the enemy's perspective. We also got the Jackal fight when you're playing as Viso. I think is there mixed opinions about this fight, because I was trying to read up online about what people thought about this at the time. Personally, I love the fights. I think, because I did watch the footage back, that I got the mechanics pretty quickly. I understood what I needed to do, but executing it was a little bit clunky. There was some moments of getting frustrated, but overall, I really like the mechanic of the Jackal fight. You have to let me know how you went and what your memories are of it.
I 100% agree. Some stuff are just clunky. The NPC just doesn't go to where you want it. Like it gets stuck on a wall, and you like have to move it to the side and then to the Jackal. By the time you do that and realize it, Jackal already is back in action. You're like, oh my god, okay, another phase. However, it's a good thing that it's on like 2 phases, really. Like it has 2 HP bars, so it's in that case not that bad.
I didn't get super frustrated with it. Now I'm thinking, I don't think I did. And I have a fond memory of it. Other notes, the skybox is always.
It's not a bad fight.
I didn't really think another game would come along that would rival Bungie's skyboxes, but man, there's some really nice skyboxes in this game, especially when you start getting up towards the front of the ship and you can see the sentient fleet there, and you defy Aladvi's orders and fire missiles. Then
fire the missiles. Did he actually just make? Did he actually just make that joke?
You start getting up towards the front of the ship, and you can see the sentient fleet there, and you defy Aladvi's orders and fire the missiles.
He has to. He has to. He has to.
On its way, China's like, shit, who the fuck is shooting us? Oh well, fire missiles. Then France is like, shit, guys, we got the missiles, they are coming, fire our shit. But I'm let tired. Well, have a nap, then fire the missiles.
There's no way he didn't actually like think about that.
Then,
fire the
what
missiles.
are we gonna do then? You have one of probably the most seamless transitions in video game history. Where you go from these back to your warframe in a railjack as you fly together. Really significant, because it shows the unity of the Grineer, the Corpus, and the Tenno in fighting back against this threat. And that's nice, because you haven't really had them all come together yet, but this single transition does that. This shows the unity between the Grineer, the Corpus, and the Tenno to fight back the sentient threat, which just really excels like how big of an issue this invasion is. Right? Very, very nice. Lapse in chat. The railjack is such a great system because it makes you, the player, a real active participant in the storytelling. You always get sci-fi games without space battles, you know what I mean? You have to just watch cutscenes of everyone else having a space battle, and you probably have a spaceship, but you never...
I think that my favorite feature that unfortunately I just almost never play is the railjack, and the reason I almost never play is because there's so much daily shit that I need to do until I max out all my standings. And I don't mean like getting to standing 5, I mean like standing 5 and 132 standing or close to it. I am focused on getting those, right? And there's just railjack missions, they take long. I love railjack missions, I think they're really fun, but they take too long. And there's just not enough time in the day to do everything else, like all the daily shit. and this. Now finally I'm done with Orb Valis, so I don't have to like. Actually, no, I just bought a bunch of Orb Valis, in my opinion, is actually like the least of my worries. So like that's why I did Orb Valis. But like Orb Valis was already maxed out. I just bought the relic packs with it, literally what I'm gonna be using it for. Once I get Cetus to 132,000, I'm done with Cetus for a foreseeable future. Aside from like, you know, getting quills up, but that's quills. What do you call it? Deimos, same thing, right? Once it's maxed out, it's maxed out. Well, Deimos is in like the Entradi family. The Anatomica will take me obviously a lot longer because there's also like shit I want to buy, and they also have arcanes that I want to buy and stuff like that. So that one would be probably like a regular daily farm. And then I also have 999, which I didn't even start because there's too much. It's too much, right? So yeah, I don't know when I can fit Railjack into all of that, and I want to fit it, but like man, like I can't. Like I have other like priorities, you know, to advance my loadouts, to advance my gear, right? And Railjack, even though I need Sisters of Parvos like a motherfucker because I want to get the like a couple of the Tenet weapons. They're not on the market right now, but I want to get them. And until then, like I just can't do it.
Fly around and shoot. The Railjack is so nice to just put you in that moment as you collapse on the sentient force and you try to reach balance and error to stop whatever's happening. So I really like that as a like transitional moment before you then launch Teshin aboard the ship. I think the ship's called Pragasa, like the main sentient ship. You like launch Teshin aboard there, and then of course you start playing as Teshin.
The mother.
The first thing you kind of do, or like the muscle memory, is always kind of like bullet jump, and then you get these new characters and you can't bullet jump, and then it obviously shows you that Teshin has another sort of movement tech that you can do. You throw something out, you grapple to it, and move around. And then of course they put you in a sandbox, they put you in an environment where you can zip around everywhere. I think there's some mechanics you got to shoot something and chase it through. Or is that later? Either way, I think you got to chase it through and you got to zip around, and it's very very nice. Once again, it plays something that is I guess 10 aligned, almost feels like a 10 but can't bullet jump, doesn't have some other powers, but has some movement tech to it. Now, this is when we close in on Ballas and Era and Natar, Lotus. Lotus is now Natar, or gone back to being Natar. Now, some of this stuff is...
Bro, I look at people's, like, what do you call it, operator, and I was like, damn, like, that actually looks human. And then I look at mine, it's like, why does mine look like a fucking potato, okay?
It's definitely lost to me, like, Ballas kisses, Lotus or kisses Natar, and looks like something happens here. I watched a couple of videos, Starlord D, thank you very much for letting me watch it on stream. I think this is about taking control of Pragasa, and that's what this, like, transfer of power is.
Yeah.
There's obviously also
basically
some backstory with Ballas.
and other shit, but yeah.
Margulis, look at me trying to remember the law, and Lotus was kind of made in the image of Margulis, tried to take on the appearance of Margulis kind of deal, so she kind of represents Margulis, i.e. Ballas is like ex-lover or ex-love. There's obviously some stuff going on there. Once again, I mean, this, as a new player, some of this nuance is definitely lost because there's so many things going on, but I'm glad it's there for more experienced players and more veteran players who have...
Funny enough, if you did New War when just came out, means you had a massive gap between New War and Second Dream, and massive gap between that and Nata, like the quest, that a lot of this information would have been lost on you, right? So like when I did New War, it was like years between that and New Dream. Now, it doesn't mean that it took years to release. I'm just saying that I didn't play for like, after New Dream, I didn't play for like many, many years, and then I came back and there's New War, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Right. However, as a new player, like when I just replayed the story to get to like to finish, you know, the main campaign, to well, the challenge was to like kill Eidolon three Eidolons and Prophet Taker. So we finished that in 2 weeks, and like because of those 2 weeks going through the story, everything made so much more sense. The relationship between who is who and what is what. So yeah.
Sitting on lore for years before this sort of came out and could like really soak it in. But for me, straight over the head until either chat told me about it or maybe I watched a video about it. Then Ballas opens a portal, a void portal, and everyone starts to get sucked in, including Lotus. We try to save her. She gets her arm cut off. These are all significant things that I was trying to absorb at the time, but maybe didn't quite get. She gets her arm chopped off, goes through after we just like epic save coming out of our suit. There's so much stuff going on. Anyway, we take a knife to the chest and then go to the portal too. Ballas wins. Really, really cool. I like stories that like, yeah, you know what, you lost, you failed. And you get this like montage of like all the planets basically falling to Ballas. You're like, oh, we just lost. Such a strong build up, and then also to lose it is really, really nice to begin the new war. And then you don't really know what's happening. You get kind of this time jump, what you think is a time jump, and you're playing as some sort of mysterious hooded figure. So this mysterious person is referred to as the Drifter, and it plays once again plays completely different from playing as a Warframe. All of a sudden, Warframe's like a stealth game, and a pretty good stealth game. I was like, this is kind of like the Star Wars game that I like. The sound effects, the little laser hand cannon you got, the little reload mechanic on it to get a little bit more.
I said this before. I wouldn't say I've been saying it for a while, but I have said it before. Whereas like there is no mode in Warframe that is like slow methodical gameplay. Right? A lot of it is just very fast. And again, like yeah, the types of gameplay are different. Like they feel different. Like survival, extermination, defense, stuff like that. Mobile defense. They feel a bit different from each other enough to like to make up for it. But like for the most part, there's no like spy, like actual spy, slow, methodical, commando type missions where like you really need to avoid detection. And then like in my opinion those need to be solo, because playing it with somebody else, like you can solo or pre-made group, not something you can queue into, right? Because people will just screw you over, like if somebody's detected mission failure, stuff like that, right? And that's like where frames like the stealth frames can really shine and stuff like that, right? I mean, stealth frames have their place right now in the like in the gameplay itself, but I'm just saying that there's no like slow paced, interesting missions kind of thing. They're all very, very fast paced, which is again, I think that's fine. I'm not saying replace anything. I'm just saying maybe we can add something like that. I actually thought 1999 would have that because I thought you were going to play as the Hex, but no, you end up playing as the Warframe. Because when you did the Hex demo, it was substantially slower. It wasn't as slow as I'm talking about, but it was substantially slower than the regular Warframe gameplay.
Like, this is kind of good. I'm enjoying this. And the striking thing is, it's like the complete opposite of normal Warframe gameplay. Like, normal Warframe gameplay is like, gotta go fast, gotta go quick, kill everything. Oh, actually, don't even kill everything. Run past everything, get to the loot. And this is like kind of a quite enjoyable stealth game, really, that they added to it. You encounter these prisoners with some sort of mask on their face. Once again, you understand the broad strokes of what's going on as an inexperienced player. It's like, okay, this thing is controlling them, and this is some implementation by Ballast to control the populace, and you can start freeing people and removing the mask, and the person's there, right? There is obviously a lot more lore and like nuance than that. I don't fully understand it. I think it's to do with Kuva. It's called the Veil. The Veil. It's called the Veil, and it gives you images of what you want to see, I think. Gives you thoughts of happy feelings kind of deal. Once again, I understand it's been used to control the population, and I can remove them to help save some people as we go through. One thing that did confuse me as I was passing through this area, and I think it's who's a radio operator lady. She talks about how all the Tenno are gone, and this is something that I probably don't even really know yet either. It's like the Guardian in Destiny, like we're the dude, we're the Tenno, we're the main Tenno, but there's other Tenno, right? There's other Tenno. What happened to them? Like, we got sucked into the void.
Yeah,
Lotus,
very confusing.
and then what happened between that time and Ballast taking over everything? What happened to all the other Tenno? That's part of
the deal.
There you go. Let me know the answer to that.
The
We've
deal
happened.
happened.
And surprise, surprise, the ship that we look at is our ship. Oh my god, reveal it's us, like an adult-looking us. So we're assuming this is in the future, but that's not quite right. And we have Lotus on the tower with us on the ship in some sort of comatose state, like just kind of fading away. She gets called an Eidolon. Once again, new player like me. I don't know what Eidolon is. I have no idea. I'm glad it's in there. I'm glad it's in there for veteran players, but some of the stuff is lost on me. But I'm sure everyone who has more experience appreciates it. Because I think Eidolon, now that I know, is a like dying sentient question mark.
Basically, yeah.
Anyway, once we reveal that we have Lotus, we are ourselves in the future, then we see a map of like the origin system, and of course now it's completely changed. It's under the control of Ballast. This is like what I've always wanted for lots of different games. Like Helldivers 2 is probably the most recent example. Is like kind of expecting this big bad to come along and like change the map, change the planets, change the areas that you go to, make it completely different from what you were playing before. DE just straight up does that as part of its storytelling, and it's I think it's
kind of
that I always wish were in games. But I feel like get sidelined because like, oh, that's too hard, that's too much budget. Like, no, we're not gonna change. We're not gonna make a whole new map just to tell the story. Just show them it's something different. No,
like, yes, they did that, but it's like it's only for the quest. It's not like you can go back to those missions, which I feel like is a missed opportunity as well. Like to have these missions of like liberation missions, stuff like that. Because like the thing is, like, after this quest is done, there's still an idea of like some areas are still like with Narmer, right? Because like you still do the Archon hunts and stuff like that, right? So there are areas where you have that, right? And also you have the bounties with Narmer. But the bounties with Narmer, I believe the map doesn't change, right? Just the enemies change, but the map itself doesn't change. So if you had like specific missions on the star chart that were added of like, you know, an armor base or whatever, like where they manufacture masks or something like that, added that to the star chart, I think it would be kind of cool. But what would be the purpose? That is, you know, that's something else.
you get like a whole basically new star chart that shows you that Ballast has.
And again, I'm like, obviously I can talk like, oh, they should have done this, should have done that. Like, let's be real. I don't know how much, what their budget is. I'm like nothing, right? It's like I can always say, oh, I want more, but it's like doesn't mean that it's possible, right? It's like it would be nice, but I'm not saying like like the game is ruined because it's not there. Obviously not, right? It's like we can always think like, oh, what more can we add? I heard like one of the devs is actually kind of like that, like he wants to add too much, and it's like somebody has to keep him in check. It's like, okay, listen, we can't do that, okay? Like we need to do this first. He's like, nah, what is this? What this? So, so yeah, maybe.
It has the effect of doing that. So once again, I feel like it doesn't just tell a story and make sure that you are really actively engaged in the story. You play the story out. You don't just hear about it. You don't just watch a cutscene. You don't just read about it. Like, you are a very active participant in the storytelling, and that's why I think it's very impressive with this mission. And then we go to Fortuna, and this is probably one of the most powerful moments in gaming history. And that seems pretty intense to say that, but I actually do think
I
there
love
are so
this.
many things that had to go right from the
I love this. I hated this mission.
Down my spine, which I haven't really had in a pretty long time in a video game.
Really?
So, when you very first go to Fortuna as a new player, you realize this is like a mining colony, and all these people are in debt, and they're working off their debt. They are slaves in this area. But you get this awesome music as you go into Fortuna, and you feel the hope and how they're the togetherness in their song, that they're all in this together. They all lift together. Now I can't play the songs because they get copyright strike. Falsely, by the way. Dee's been very good at working with me to get rid of copyright strikes, but I'm not gonna play it because they'll grab this video too. Anyway.
They don't. They don't. You don't get copyright strike for We Live Together. That also wouldn't make any sense, because then, like, if you play the game on stream on YouTube and you get to that point, or you have We Live Together on your what do you call it, like the Octavia thing, right? Like the ship's music. If you then you would always get copy strike. That makes no sense. Usually, in-game music is practically never, as far as I know, never copy strike. Now, copy strike. Now, is there copyright on them? Yes, but but like the copyright allows you to stream it on YouTube, right? So, I don't know. Maybe he's right. I don't know.
First experience Fortuna, you realize they're in a really tough situation, but they're in it together and they're working together, right? And there's still hope. And then now when you revisit Fortuna after Ballas has taken over, you get a song again. But this time you get the impression that they've been completely crushed and controlled. They're no longer singing from free will. They're no longer singing for resistance. They're no longer singing out of not anger, out of resistance. They're singing because they've been crushed. They're singing as part of bending the knee to Ballas. And the thing is, like, for this to work properly, they had to nail the song in the very first time you went to Fortuna, and they had to nail the song in the very first time once Ballas was controlled. And they had to have good characters the very first time you went to Fortuna. And then what they do?
My second favorite song in the game.
You hear the song and, oh my god, what have they done to these people here? Like, they were already down and out. Now Ballas has like really stamped them out, really crushed their spirits. And then the game forces you to wind through this previous hub area where you've been talking to NPCs you develop relationships with. And you're like, they're all gone. It paths you through where the NPCs used to be like Beers and Legs and Unico. They're not there anymore. All those like relationships you developed are all gone. I even said, like, at one point I was like, where are the vent kids? Where are the vent kids? And then I went into the vents. I was like, oh, there they are. Thank God they're okay. And then I saw they also had the face huggers on, right? Once again, some of that lore goes over my head. I don't really know what's the deal with that. I just know that it's a way of controlling the population and that, they're forced into this. Incredibly powerful. Everyone jokes, like when I was playing this live, like cinema.
Well, isn't the main kid from the vent kids was actually still okay? I feel like the main vent kid, like the one who like you always talk to, I feel like he was okay, wasn't he? Cause there's like something made me feel like he was not controlled. I don't remember if he says something or if what's her name, Little Duck, mentions that the vent kids have a way out, like something like that. I don't remember, but like I had a feeling that like the main vent kid was not under control.
I think it is easily one of the best moments in gaming.
I hated this part.
How many hours of Warframe you have to play to get that experience. It's probably the greatest secret in gaming history, because you not only have to like play a whole bunch of hours to get there, like you've got to experience Fortuna and do a bunch of that stuff, and you've got to get to New War and do New War as well. And yes, I don't know how many people have experienced this, but it's good. Okay, so you sneak through the Fortuna like hub world. And you get this really interesting feeling because as you like exit the hub, you can kind of like breathe easy again. You've got this really intense stealth area, and then now it's this open world. And previously, the hub was your safe zone, and the open world where the enemies are. And now it's like been reversed. Now it's like the hub is the danger area with all the sentients, and now this open world area is like where you can breathe easy. Really nicely done. Really well reinforced by them giving you a K drive to like hoverboard to the next objective. I do think this next bit gets a little bit confusing. And once again, I never really felt lost in the moment. But if you asked me to do a summary like directly after, I probably couldn't tell you why I was doing certain things. And I had to go back and check the footage. And apparently we had to go to this Veil factory to get a ship with Corpus tags on it. I thought that we were just kind of like sabotaging the factory to try to free the people of Fortuna. Maybe we're doing that as well. But there is a line about we need a ship, Corpus tags. Either way, we had to put these face huggers on. They give us visions of the Veil. There is the Veil. And I had to watch a video about this. There was a back and forth between like Ballas and Lotus. Once again, they went over my head. Once again, not a complaint. I think it's great that it's there for veteran players who know the lore. But as a new player, it didn't make much sense at the time. I just knew that these were a bad thing, for the population. But for whatever reason, didn't quite affect me. We go through there, and I think what they were doing in this like storytelling part, and I think this is why I got confused, and it's only until I watched the video back, is the Drifter has a plan, but doesn't necessarily verbalize that plan. It doesn't tell you, doesn't break the fourth wall, so to speak, or talk to anyone about the plan, which I see why that's kind of useful, because it's trying to reinforce, you know, she's like this lone person with this massive mission. She can't really trust anyone, so she's not going to tell anyone what she's doing, but didn't really even, Lotus knows, but doesn't say it out loud. Anyway, it is eventually revealed she's trying to get to Hunhow, Lotus's Tad, a sentient.
Well, technically, she said it without saying it to Ordis, right? She said that there is somebody who can help, and then Ordis realized who she was talking about, and said, "Operator, no, you can't do that." Right? So technically, it wasn't hidden, but it was hidden from the player, not from the NPC. You know, like everyone knew where she was going. Little Doc knew where she was going. Ordis knew where she was going. The Drifter knew where she was going. It was just hidden from the player to keep the suspense. But yeah, great storytelling.
For a strategy to bring Lotus back to life, right? So you got to go to the battle factory, you got to get the corpus ship, which will then take us to a location where Hunhow is. We obviously need the corpus ship to do that, and then say, "Yo, Hunhow, we're going to try to get Lotus back. You know, can we get some help?" I'll be real. I am confused by the relationships here. Like, I know the family trees, and like Hunhow is like Lotus' dad and dad of Era, and he's a sentient, but also I don't.
Well, like, he's the creator, but yeah.
And why Hunhow wouldn't work with Ballas and Era? Why
actually, is he even the creator? Because isn't like the mothership is actually the creator, the mothership, right? Hunhow is just kind of like their leader. Because as far as I know, they can't give birth, right? And the Natal was created or used after they already went to the void, so they can't like recreate or something like that, right? And she was just an Oculus or whatever they're called, like Oculus Quest 2 Oculus, whatever they're called, like the mimic. She was a mimic, right? That's I don't know why they're like what their actual relationship, like why they call father and daughter and son and whatever, because as far as I know, they're not actually related, but
on an approach to bring Lotus back. Once again, though, in general, I understand like we're going to enemy of our enemy, which is what the mission is called, to try to get information about how to bring Lotus back to life. Essentially, she sort of fades out. She's an eidolon, and we get told about Archons, and then we can kill an Archon. We can get this like crystal thing. We kill enough of them. We can bring them to Lotus and bring it back to life. Okay. I think I like what they were trying to do. I think, you know, being this spy and stealth mission and not necessarily reveal the plan straight away, but I definitely got lost as a new player, and I definitely felt like I didn't understand sort of some of these more relationships between characters and why we might be seeking help from Hunhow. Cool. Other thing I think that then goes into, because now it just starts to get really crazy, is we start getting flashbacks, and I swear to God, it feels like a dream. Like, in the moment, everything makes sense, but if you try to think back to like how you got here, you can't quite remember. The game does jump all over the place. I think it's very intentional. I think it's a technique they want to use because it tries to mimic
with
these
the void
flashbacks and
stuff.
also really important concepts, eternalism, that's about to come up. It's kind of genius. It's also kind of super confusing. But I think it's one of those missions that gains more enjoyment the more you play it too, and you realize what they're actually doing. Okay, so the next section has us go backwards and forwards between the Zariman 10-0 incident, which is where the children aboard the spaceship have an accident. And this is like the origin story of becoming like a Tenno and getting his powers from the void. So it takes us back before the incident, and it jumps backwards and forwards between that memory and also playing as the Drifter, hunting down Archons to grab these crystals to restore Lotus. And this is what I mean, how it kind of feels like a dream, which I think is very intentional. Like, sometimes I'll be playing the game like, how did I get here again? I kind of know what I'm doing, but I don't know how I got here. You know, like in dreams, you can't remember how, like, kind of makes sense. But you're like, wait, how did I get here? Oh, it's a dream. Anyway. Really, once again, fantastic involvement of the player in the story and teaching you a key concept, eternalism. So you're on the Zariman 10-0, you're on the ship, and the incident hasn't happened yet, and your Acephalon is basically giving you a test. You have to pay attention because then you have like a little iPad thing. And you have
the question is this a memory, or is this what your operator is going through in real time inside of the void? Because like when did the deal happen? Right, the deal happened in the past or in the present, right? But there's no such thing as past and present because all time is time, right? So it's like when the deal happens that you see inside of the void, inside of the Zariman, and the Drifter also says like I didn't get my powers yet, meaning he knows that the deal needs to take place, but it didn't take place yet for some reason. And then at some point inside the Zariman, the deal took place. But the thing is, when the Zariman was first in the void, the deal was shook on, and that's how the Tenno basically just like won the war, right? Because of this deal. So it's like this is where it's like super fucking confusing.
Test, and it's teaching you about one of the main components of like the story being eternalism. I got the test completely wrong because I didn't read the questions correctly. Very funny, but once again, it's so impressive to involve the player in the story and really directing the player on what you should be paying attention to, because if you don't get this, it's a lot of confusing stuff in there. So you do the test, you jump back to fighting the Archons, and I don't think there's really anything special to comment on the Archons. Maybe if I want to be really critical, I feel like there could have been some more mechanics with the Archon, because I would say it was a nice opportunity to do that, because everyone's pretty much standardized. You don't have your like previous Warframes. You're playing as a Drifter. You've got the bow. Everyone's kind of at a certain power level. I feel like they could have gone a little bit harder with some of the mechanics with the Archons. I felt like you just chunk away their health. Neither here or there. Like, I didn't hate it, but I don't think there's anything crazy to write home about when it came to the Archons. You then get another flashback. And this time it's after the incident, and like the ship's half destroyed, all the kids are like scattered around the ship, and this is where you meet your doppelganger. It's like, hey kiddo, which has previously been introduced in a previous quest called, I think it's a sacrifice. Is that the first time? Where another kid was talking about the man in the wall. So you're kind of thinking there's this big baddie out there, the darkness in the void that's infiltrated this area. We don't really know much about them yet. Well, I didn't know anything really about them, but they offer you a deal, to save everyone. And once again, things that went over my head. I didn't notice that they had Lotus's hand. I was told that later, but you make a handshake with them and you make some sort of deal. You then jump back to finishing off your Archons, and you think after you do 2 Archons, you get Lotus to some sort of restoration. She doesn't recognize you as a Drifter. Some important lore about that, which hasn't been revealed yet at this point in the story, and starts attacking him. She kills Ordis, and now I'm getting, because I'm just doing this from there, I'm getting the sequence out of order here. But
also, by the way, how did Ordis come back? Because she killed Ordis, so like, where did he come back from? That's also like something that I don't think was covered. Yeah.
Deal with with the man in the wall. You make the deal with the man in the wall. You actually get a very subtle change in scenes when you're fighting Lotus, and you
this scene
from the Drifter to your Tenno again.
This scene where you see a lot of your copies dying, I think what the deal was, this is again super fucking like, theory, is that the deal was to kill off all other possibilities. It's like killing off timelines, like killing off the Tenno, from different like timeline branches, right? So even if the timeline branches exist, you don't exist in them, therefore you can't interact with them, while the man in the wall can. So this scene specifically, again, super brief, like take from it what you will, like it's extremely not explained what this deal means, what the deal is, but basically for the power that you get as the Tenno, you basically are you erase the existence of the Tenno from other different timeline possibilities, whereas the void can still access them, but you cannot, because you don't exist in those timelines. You sever the connections to those timelines. So now you are like your one character, as well, the Drifter or the Operator exist only within the same timeline. Whereas the Drifter is still inside the void, whereas the Operator is outside of the void. And you can only exist while you are staying in one place or the other. You can't be both at the same place. Or like you can't be both at the same place for very long. Like it starts creating a paradox, basically.
So your Tenno who was killed and stabbed and went into the void with Ballas in the original, in the first mission, the first act, is now like returned in the place of the Drifter. I did not even see this at the time. I think some of you probably think I'm completely blind. I'm going to blame like streaming and like divided attention for missing like key things. But yeah, you're now the Tenno and you get some powers back, and then Lotus, I think, kind of has a revelation too and flies off. But the next scene I think is about to explain what the hell is going on here. So after Lotus, flies off and the Drifter is replaced by the Tenno we're familiar with, that we've been playing with previously, we get this like little cutscene where Ballas and Era are talking, and Ballas just implies that he's aware of the Tenno's presence.
So like whenever you see like the cinematics between, like throughout the New War, there's a cinematic of like Ballas being like, blaming what do you call her? Lotus, Nata, for like what she has done with him and all that stuff, where it's like he's the victim and then he gives you the sword paracesis. This is actually a different timeline that the man in the wall is letting you interact with or something like that, right? But like you personally would not be able to, or something like that. And it's so weird. Like it's so fucking convoluted, man. It's so fucking weird. Or maybe it was his plan, but it's like, then how do you have paracesis and he has paracesis, right? Like how come there are 2 paracesis in the same world, right? So it's like you got yours from a different timeline or some shit like that, right? And then there's the Era that treats him like a slave, but now here but again, like the slave I feel like was an act, because at some point he lets go of the chain and they're both kind of like looking at each other happy. So it's like he was pretending to be his slave to deceive Nata, is what I got from it. Anyways, this whole, because of the play with timelines, it's always fucking crazy to understand what's going on.
I don't know how much like backstory there is for this part here. I don't know if it was just like Era was aware someone was taking out the Archons and grabbing the crystals, so they put 2 and 2 together, like, oh, it's the Tenno, they didn't die. But my original impression was like, oh, it's like they've sensed the Force. There's been a change in the Force. The Jedi have returned, kind of deal. And they sensed that the Tenno was now back in action. And he's like, darn it, Then we get the explanation for why everything's been timey-wimey, and we actually abort the Zarya and 10-0. We sit down with the Drifter. So we've got our Tenno face-to-face with the Drifter, like, yo, what's going on? And ironically, they even say, oh, it'd be easier if it was, different timeline, if I was from the future. That would be easy to understand. But that's not the case. Eternalism, baby. Remember that test you were meant to pay attention to and pass with flying colors? Well, that's what's kind of going on here. I'm a version of you that didn't escape, that didn't get the powers, that's been stuck aboard the Zarya and 10-0. You're the version that did escape. Everything happened all at the same time, right? Like, there's a version that didn't escape, there's a version that did escape, there's a version that did something else, probably, okay? Very nice. Once again, see, I struggle to explain it, but it still makes sense to me. And this is, I think, what Digital Extremes does really well when it comes to sci-fi. You can be very casual and you can understand what's generally going on. Like, yeah, that makes sense at the time. But then if you say, okay, tell me exactly
Don't think
what
to
it
me.
is, how it relates to this, I'm like, try my best. Please don't be angry.
Yeah, like the general idea is like you can understand, but if you start digging deeper, it's like it's very convoluted, right? It's very fucking mixed. Like it's fucking like like what the fuck is going on? But like the general sense you understand. As long as you accept it as it is, then it's fine. But like if you try to actually like make sense of it all, you kind of like your brain will just fry.
That's what I take away from it. Like there's a version of the of Alteno that didn't escape. I don't know if that means they didn't make the deal with the Man in the Wall, and there's a version that did do that. Okay. And then you have to choose. Once again, another great thing I've done in this game. It's like, okay, now make a choice that will impact your gameplay moving forward. Make your choice impactful. I picked the Drifter because I really like the gameplay with the Drifter and the pistol. I thought that was very fun, so I went with the Drifter. I think a lot of people, I don't know, tell me what you chose. I think people went with the original Tenno. I think trying to get Lotus back had more significance to them, but I didn't really have an attachment either way because I'm new to the game, so I went down the Drifter path.
Yeah.
Then, because remember, Otis was...
I went with
he
Drifter.
Drifter.
He started.
Like,
Might as well finish it.
I'm actually bigger. Like, the small details are also there too. Like, I instantly knew when I was like aboard the ship now, I was like, oh, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Like, I'm an adult version of me. Like, I'm taller. I'm actually taller in-game. That makes a lot of sense. And it should be like that. And it is like that. So those little small details are often really impressive. But yeah, then Otis starts speaking aboard our ship. I'm like, what? Didn't Otis die? And then it's like, oh, yeah, Eternalism, baby. Like, he both died and didn't die, I think.
Yeah, so that part where he didn't die doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Where he died and didn't die. It's not like... Because we are now in the same timeline of where he died. So I don't know why he's back. But yeah. Because Eternalism has to do more with like we didn't go back in time in our own timeline. That either that means that we went to like a different timeline that is parallel, that is similar, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Or we went back in time before Ordis died. But then if we went back in time before Ordis died, where's Nata right now? Where's the Lotus that that's supposed to be in our chair? That because as soon as she got up, she destroyed him. So yeah, so this Ordis part extremely not clear.
Cetus. Now once again, I think my only legitimate criticism, right? Now obviously like a lot of stuff goes over my head, but I don't think that's like criticism. I'm just telling you how I feel. My only legitimate criticism, sometimes with going into this quest, I didn't really feel like I got enough lead up to like why I'm going there. I was like, why are we going to see this? Like, what am I doing here? Apart from following Lotus, I guess, and like trying to fight back the sentient invasion, like what is the significance of this? And maybe that is because I'm lacking some of the lore in the background. And I think in Cetus' case, I probably am because I was trying to read about it online. And is it the Unum Tower? And someone on Reddit was like, oh, the operator enters the Unum Tower. How excited you go to the tower after all these years? I don't know what the Unum Tower is. I don't know the significance of it.
Yeah,
I don't know
it doesn't. It's like
really
in order to understand that,
like
you
it's
actually have to pay attention to what is going on in Cetus when you're doing like you're standing in the bounties, because they're talking about the Onum and like the goddess or whatever they believe in, the spirit, whatever, that it protects them. But actually, the Onum is like a huge power source that basically, if it destroyed, like I'm pretty sure like Earth is destroyed, similar to the heart in Deimos, that if that is destroyed, then the whole universe can get destroyed or some shit like that. Like shit stops working. It's a MacGuffin that is like it is a super powerful technology that needs to exist in order for stuff to happen. Basically,
there was like we're going to this place because it's significant in the battle against sentience because. Okay, so this next section, I think we're just mainly pursuing Lotus. She's not at full power yet. We don't want her to really take on Ballas yet. We would lose her again. But we also kind of need to follow her and also take out Ballas, right? So that's my general understanding of what's happening. The main ship's name is Prograssa. I don't really know if it tells you that anywhere else. I learned that from the lore video, and we introduced like this kind of new plan of Ballas, which is using Prograssa
very
to
briefly
suck in the sun and destroy this whole system. I believe. I think that's what's going on.
Prograssa is the mother. Hanhao is the father. When you go to when you do the Ropalo list, when Nata tells you that's like my parents were, they were farmers, whatever, and it's like my mom was like a fuck. How did she call her? I don't think she called her a carpenter, but like father was a farmer. My mother was whatever, like she was like a maker, whatever, and like yeah, her mother is this mother ship that created sentience. Yeah,
I do think that this later part of the quest was definitely harder for me to follow than the first. I think the first, like 75% of the new war was like very, very strong. And I understood in general most of what was going on, like the intricate lore stuff went over my head, but I kind of knew what was up. This back end, I think, did confuse me a little bit. Anyway, we're now on a new mission of like don't let Prograssa consume the sun and destroy our whole system. And as we get into our railjack, it starts to break apart, and we launch like a necromech assault, I think on Prograssa, which is cool. This is probably, I know this is the only issue I have. This is one of the things that I remember being audibly stunned by is Era's turning point. You launch on
Also
the ship
doesn't
with
know.
Era's like,
Which is why, by the way, Era's turning point is also another indicator, like the same way as like Ordis is alive. Are we in the same timeline, or are we in a parallel timeline, or is this the actual timeline and the whole time we were in a parallel timeline where everything is happening the same way, but Era is a bit different? This is where, like, what the fuck, right? Yeah, because the last cinematic we saw is like when Bala says that's like, no, it's not enough, and like, what, now it's the turning point, not like after he killed and sent Nata to the void. Like, that wasn't the turning point. So it's like, where was the turning point? And that's why, like, another thing that's like another like pointer that it could be a parallel universe, right? Like our, like, or like this is our main universe, whereas like the Drifter was the whole time in a parallel one.
It's probably a little bit quick for a character change. Era to be like, yep, I'm on your team now. Like, yeah, this is not the way kind of deal. I just feel like I need a tiny bit more lead up for Era to like switch sides like that, I guess. So that would be nice. We then do the last Archon, get the last crystal to like fully restore Lotus so we can really confront Ballas and take him out, right? Now this part, I can't actually remember at the time how much I knew and how much I've absorbed since that time. But when we eventually do reach Ballas, I don't know how much I actually knew about Ballas' relationship with Lotus, who was like an image of Mugulus, and
Not
like,
a lot,
love triangle,
probably,
so to speak, before I got there. But you sort of get the gist when he gives her a kiss and talks about his love and stuff like that. Overall, though, Ballas is just such a good villain. I'm so sick of villains having this like soul backstory. He's just a right dog, and that's fun. It's fun having a bad villain that is just causing chaos for the sake of causing chaos. I do like that. During the boss fight, I did like the mechanics a lot. During the phase 2, I kind of did some of the mechanics by accident. People were literally screaming at me, I can't believe he's doing this by accident. I was getting Ballas to shoot those little things by accident behind me without really knowing how I was doing it. Anyway, once we get through that and we get to another cutscene, we smack on a facehacker on Ballas, and that shows Lotus as Mugulus giving Ballas what he wanted to see, right? His love. And then gives him the kiss. Yeah, he kisses her. And I think this is what gives the... He already took the crystal, so Lotus can become complete. So I don't know if that kiss gave like the crystal power from Ballas back to Lotus to like complete her transformation, and gave control of Prograssa back to Lotus, to then stop, the sun being destroyed, I think. Once again, I don't have too many issues with this being complicated. I think that's fine. And then,
I think she just got her power back, basically, plus the Archon shards, so she's stronger than she was before.
And I know that our railjack is powered by a thingy. And I think that ends the new war. Oh, yes, and I forgot to say, you as the player get to decide whether Lotus is Lotus, Natar, or Mugulus, which is, once again, really nice, giving control to the player and part of the story. So what are my overall thoughts about the new war in Warframe? I think what is really impressive is you get to play the story. You're an active participant in the story. It's really impressive for a looting shooter. You're not just told about it. You're not just read about it. You're not just watching cutscenes. You are actually playing it. So you play it through your enemies. You play it through the Drifter. You play it through the Tenno. You play it through Teshin. You play it through the Railjacks. You play it through goddamn quizzes and, aboard the Zariman 10-0 in flashbacks, okay? Overall, I think the broad strokes of the story are relatively easy to understand. There's a sentient invasion by Ballas and Era. You're trying to stop it, okay?
Yeah.
I do think, like, the first 75% is definitely easier, and much more confusion towards the back half. I think the only thing that could help it along is sometimes I think there's need to be just a little bit more, like, linking dialogue for what you're doing. The Veiled Factory is a good one. You're like, I really need a ship right now with Corpus tanks so I can go this place. At the same time, I also understand why I wasn't told, and I would easily concede this point. Someone's like, no, well, you're kind of a spy, you're on a spy mission, you don't want to be telling everyone what you're doing, like, it doesn't make sense to do that. You need to work it as you go. The game gets better, you play more times. I would also agree with that. Fair. Of course, as a new player, I think a lot of the fine details of the lore are definitely missed. That's not a bad thing. That's something for me to work towards to understand and to improve my job.
It's like the lore in Warframe is really deep, but you are only getting like the extremely broad idea of what is going on within the game, which I think is a fair balance, because there's a lot of people who play video games, they don't give a shit about the story, especially like when shooters. They don't give a shit about it. So it's like, fuck it. I don't care about these details, whatever. Just let me skip the cinematic. Let me do gameplay. Whereas then there's the other crowd who loves story, and this is their main reason to play a game, right? So, but for them, if you love story and you can find a lot of the information, you can, connect the dots and stuff like that on your own. So the game itself is not overloaded with this information. Like a lot of the extra information that you need to know, that you need to understand, like for example, Albrecht's history with the Void, that is voluntary knowledge. Like you don't have to know it. The game doesn't forcefully tell you that. Like, there's no cinematic or whatever. But if you're interested in lore, it's right there, you know? Talking to those, like, 8, Vom, Vas, all that stuff. 8, wow, why am I yawning so much? 8 little triglyphs, whatever they are, outside of, between the Entrade family and Anatomica. Right, so you can talk to those to get information. And you can find a lot of the information throughout, connecting the dots of the main story and understanding the small details throughout, right? So I think the game has a very good balance of telling the story for like people who don't care about it and people who care about it. Because if you care about it, the information is there, you just have to look for it. And if you don't care about it, then a lot of the information, that like the small details, are in voluntary areas.
By playing it more, I definitely understand that people, I don't know how many years we have to wait for this quest, but you had digested a lot of the previous lore and you understood a lot more things than I did when I first played it. Overall, the boss mechanics and fight I thought were quite enjoyable. I think balance was great. I actually really like the Jackal, even though maybe the execution was sometimes tough. I like the mechanic idea itself, and then like executing was a little bit clunky, but overall I did enjoy the boss fights. Like I said before, sometimes I felt like I was in a goddamn dream. I was like, who am I? What am I? How did I get here? What am I doing again? Very intentional, I think, as part of the storytelling. Improves probably the more times you play and you understand what to look out for. So can't really criticize that. The timey-wiminess, but not really timey-wiminess of it, I kind of really love. It is complex. It is tough. I have a general understanding of eternalism, I think. Enough to at least enjoy the story. Could I make you a proper lore video about it? No, I don't think so. Do I know enough to enjoy the story? Yeah, I think so. So that's great. The pacing of the stealth missions, super nice. Super enjoyable to have something completely different from the main game. I thought it was done incredibly well. It felt like a good Star Wars game, which I think is wicked. Changing the map and the environments as Battles takes over the system, very, very nice. Actual see the impact and story on the world itself, beautiful. And of course, lastly, I think one of the most powerful storytelling elements I've ever played in a video game is Fortuna. Going to Fortuna originally, and the song and the music and the people and the characters and the vibes, and then going back after Battles has taken control. Super, super powerful. Very, very impressive. Well done. There you go. How many years ago was New War released? That's my kind of pseudo review of the New War campaign in Warframe. Hope you enjoyed your time. It's a pretty fun video to make. Like and comment would be greatly appreciated. If you can't leave a comment, just leave the word New War. I'll see you live on stream on Twitch or on YouTube. Bye-bye.
All right, cool. Oh man, we're gonna watch this. Oh, we're gonna watch this for sure. Yeah, man, I always love seeing people do. Holy. Good for him. Holy shit. Yeah, I love watching people enjoy the new story. It's actually, it's always, it's peak, man. It's peak Warframe. Ugh. But yeah, no epiphany moment, but it is what it is. All right, cool. Soundbikers to no. Let's see.
If this guy was an American citizen.
Can't stop talking about me. Let's see. Let's see. The war between Hassan and Asmongold continues. Let's see. Session would be a large invasion of fissures or generally any specialized mission that gave limited time items, even if you get carried. Yeah. Yeah, I'll respond to that later. But yeah, Hassan is actually like losing his shit over Asmongold. It's fucking hilarious to watch.
I would completely support his right to do this, but he's not. You don't know anything! No, it does not! What are you talking about? I don't really know exactly how the law works. This is my purview. Why did you spend 48 hours worth of content saying? Oh my. That's it.
Because Asmongold is not a political streamer. He's taking information and tries to make logic out of it, right? Like use the common man's he's saying, right? Common man's logic to the situation, right? I would say majority of people don't really care that this student, because this is about that student who got his green card revoked and got kicked out, really don't care that he got kicked out. It's like, even if it was actually impeding on Second Amendment, First Amendment, and it was like, unlawful, whatever, yeah. Even then, they don't care. Let's be real, most people won't care if a citizen got removed, which, by the way, is a bad precedent, but most people won't care if a citizen was removed for being a terrorist supporter. Active terror, not like saying like, oh, I think Hamas is not that bad. Active terrorist supporter, like making the lives of other, like honestly, what he did, forget getting like kicked out of the U.S., probably should go to jail. Because it's like if you're a strong believer of First Amendment, then technically he prevented a lot of students, not him specifically, but the group he was a part of, the group he was actively engaging in, and actively he was like one of the leaders of that group, whatever, actively making the lives of other citizens, like they like impeded on their freedom of speech, right? They couldn't go to certain classes. They were afraid to go to classes. They couldn't walk through certain areas of the campus that they fucking paid a lot of money for, right? You are actively impeding on other people's freedom of speech. So honestly, I don't think anyone cares that, like, any normal person actually cares that this guy was removed. Now, if we talk about just like the philosophy of it, should he be removed or not? Like, should green cards be able to revoke? Well, as far as I know, green card is not a citizenship, therefore it can be revoked. Like, that is like the two major problems with not problems, but like the two major deficits that a green card has over citizen is, like, as far as I know, you can't vote. Well, this is what my understanding is in Canada. In Canada, if you're like a permanent resident, which is, I guess, similar to like a green card, and you're not a citizen, you can't vote, and it can be revoked. So, as from my understanding, green card works in a very similar way. You're on a green card, you're not a citizen, therefore it can be revoked, and what do you call it? And you can't vote. I don't know if you can vote on a green card, but for the most part, you are not actually a part of the society. You are participating in it, but you're not like a part of it yet, right? You have the privilege to be pseudo civilian, you know. But yeah, that's my understanding.
I certainly don't know all of the confines of like, I don't know everything about the fucking immigration law either. Having said that, then why did you spend 48 fucking hours worth of content saying?
Anyway, he spent way more than 48, by the way.
No, that's in the United States of America. You can literally fucking say you love Al Qaeda, you love the KKK,
Yes.
you love Nazis. The government can't fucking deport you.
As a citizen, because how are you gonna deport a citizen? Where are they gonna go? They are a citizen. Like, where would a citizen go? Of course, you're not gonna deport a citizen, but you can send them to jail, right? Obviously, not for speech, like not for this speech, but like, you know.
You over.
Yes, that's true. If you're a citizen, Hassan would be right.
What are you talking about? He's also constitutionally protected. He's saying
No context. Under the Immigration and National.
Also, Constitution is for the citizens. The Constitution is made for U.S. citizens. Again, I'm not talking about this like a lawyer or whatever, but like, to my understanding, all the rights, all the Constitution, all that stuff is for citizens. Them allowing you to have that as well, to an extent, it's a boon, but like, it's a privilege. It's not a right. Like, people who are citizens, they have the right of the Constitution. People who are not citizens, who are green card holders, who are like visitors, whatever, they have the, what do you call it? The privilege of using the Constitution to an extent, right? Because as far as I know, there's also like for gun laws, it's like, oh, we have the Second Amendment. As far as I know, tourists are not allowed to like buy guns the same way that civilians are. And I believe that this applies to green card holders. I'm not sure too much about that, right? But it's like, you have a privilege, but that doesn't mean that everything applies to you, right? And as the Secretary of the State, Rubio, I think he's the Secretary, Rubio stated that it's like, if you, when you applied for the visa or for the green card, told us that you're going to, you know, prevent kids from going to college, you know, make the life very hard for Jewish students who are citizens, like, obviously you wouldn't get your green card, you wouldn't get your visa. So on the same level, we can take it back, right? If he was a citizen, then it's a different story.
Any non-citizen, including a green card holder, is subject to deportation if they engage in terrorist activities.
There you go.
Activities include material support, like any form of facilitation of the terrorist organization.
Yeah, makes sense.
Hassan is muddying the waters trying to reframe this individual.
I don't think this is a violation of free speech. Kidnaps a green card holder for being pro-Palestine. But yes, and again, there's this whole argument. Well, it's like, well, you know, Hamas is not actually, like, just because the U.S. Says that Hamas is terrorist doesn't mean that they're actually terrorists. Actually, that means that in the U.S., Hamas is a terrorist organization. Maybe in Palestine, Hamas is not a terrorist organization, like, it's not considered it. But you are currently not in Palestine, you are in the US, so you're going to follow what the US dictates. And if the US dictates that something some organization is a terrorist organization and you are supporting it, you are in fact while in the US you are supporting a terrorist organization. It's not fucking rocket science, right? It doesn't matter if you consider Hamas a terrorist organization or not. If you are residing in the US and you are supporting Hamas, you are effectively supporting a terrorist organization based on US standards, because every country has its own standards and you go by the standards of the country you are currently in. Duh.
As just being pro-Palestine. Here are the facts.
So this is the guy that has been detained as a leader of the CUAD, which was formed after SLP and JVP were suspended for pro-terror activity.
The CUAD, Columbia University Apartheid Divest, was responsible for this reenactment of Helm's Deep last year.
And so Khalil openly defends Hamas in the CUAD video on March 2025.
By the way, all of these people should be jailed and deported if they're if they're not citizens. This is not lawful protesting, okay? And I don't care. It's like, oh, well, you just hate Palestinians. If Jews did the same thing, I would say the same exact thing. If any group did the same thing, I would say the exact same thing. This is not peaceful protesting. You have absolutely no right to block anything that is not yours. You have a right to block your own house. That is yours. You can do it. You are not allowed to block college facilities, college doors, like college walkways. You have no right for it. Same as like people who are blocking roads. The road is not yours. You have absolutely zero right to protest on a road, right? You have the right to protest, but you cannot inhibit people's other rights, right? You can protest all you want, but you can't tell somebody to shut up, right? Because that's impeding on their freedom of speech. So it's like if you're doing a protest, right, and I don't agree with your protest, and I protest right next to you the exact opposite thing, you are not allowed to tell me that I can't do it, okay? Because that is my freedom of speech at that point, right? So what they're doing, crime. That's actually a crime. That is not a protest. This is a crime. There's a difference. Primal screams, I love it.
And so Khalil openly defends Hamas in the CUAD video on March 2025. Yes, they're calling it terrorism because you're killing innocent people. CUAD's anti-American stance is clear. Members vowed to weaken U.S. imperialism on March 9th, 2025. The NY Post exposed their goal. This is unbelievable. Eradication of Western civilization. The CUAD organized a pro-terror event in March 24th called Palestinian Resistance 101. Speaking at the event was Khalid Barakat, a senior member of the PFLP, a designated terror group. So they organized an event, and one of the speakers was a member of a terrorist group. What is this? Let's just go ahead and get down to it, right? If this guy is associated with this group, and this group has done anything to whitewash Hamas or to promote Hamas, without a shadow of a doubt, they have a complete justification to deport him. But these are in fact what the rules are. It is a literal fact that a green card holder can be removed for being part of a group that expresses support for a terrorist group. It's literally outlined, and this specific case, like, it is literally written down.
I want to talk to you because you're intentionally being
Define support. I would say passing out flyers and then inviting a person from a terrorist organization to speak at your event is supporting. That's in my opinion, I think that's support.
That's cowardly.
Yeah, stop supporting terrorists. You would think that not supporting terrorists is easy to do, but you'd really be surprised.
This constitutionally protected. He's saying you want to talk to you because you're intentionally being dishonest. That's cowardice.
The Constitution doesn't apply.
The tweet that Hassan made about me, and this is why I don't engage with this. It's because it's completely misrepresenting, absolutely 100% misrepresentation. When somebody opens up a conversation on the premise of me thinks it's a violation of
literally the usual Hassan fucking tactic. Like, take something someone says, misrepresent it, either out of context or purposefully misunderstand it to where it kind of still makes sense to what it said. Okay, I don't think it's a violation of free speech when devs make video game boobs smaller. And it's like, no, it's not. He never said that. And it's like, he's also like writing it from somebody's, like, again, how do you call it? Intellectually dishonest. Like Hassan is like the peak of intellectual dishonesty, right? I don't think there's a shred of honest bone in Hassan's body. It is actually like baffling that people still like listen to this retard.
Devs make video game boobs smaller, but when the DHS openly kidnaps a green card holder for being pro-Palestine,
it's like,
so let's go ahead and break this down line by.
If you're still a Hassan watcher, you probably still believe everything the media says, not just CNN. Everything the media still says, you still believe that. All right, the media cannot lie because Hassan has been caught on lies so many times, right? Purposely misrepresenting, purposefully lying, right? Literally going back on what he said and saying that it never happened. Again, lie. Basically what the media does. right? Literally using media tactics. And if you still believe Hassan, you probably still believe CNN and Fox and all that stuff, that they don't have an agenda, that they're not lying to your face, that they're misrepresenting certain cases, that they're downplaying certain things, whereas like they're overplaying other things, right?
By line. Asmongold thinks it's a violation of free speech when video game devs make video game boobs smaller. I wish it was, but unfortunately it's not. This is an obvious appeal. This is an ad absurdum. We're going to escalate what you're thinking. You are a crazy, unreasonable, stupid person for believing this, and I'm
Yeah.
going to caricature you as something that you're not in order to make you look stupid. So you introduce me as this person, but then when the DHS openly kidnaps a green card holder for being pro-Palestine, he's not getting deported for being pro-Palestine. He's getting deported, and I don't know, maybe he's not going to get deported, right? There's a chance that he's not going to get deported. But let's say he does. It will not be because he's pro-Palestine. It will be because he's part of a group that has expressed positivity towards being pro-Hamas. And this is the problem, is that Hassan keeps making this comparison. He keeps going and saying that being pro-Hamas is pro-Palestine. This is a terrible way of looking at it, and Hamas is a terrorist organization, and you do a massive disservice to Palestinians when you just use them interchangeably, because this is not the
So the whole like you're doing a massive disservice to Palestinians, yes and no, because I believe Palestinians are in favor. Like I believe that most Palestinians or most people who support Palestine support Hamas, because Hamas is effectively the only military force that Palestinians have. But the fact is that when you're supporting Palestinians while supporting Hamas, the reason he's saying it's a disservice to Palestinians is because if you're supporting Hamas, that means you are supporting a continuation for the fight that Palestinians cannot win. Right? You are literally supporting a fight Palestinians cannot fucking win. Okay? Israel is not going anywhere. And the sooner you accept that fact that Israel is not going anywhere, there's no amount of international pressure without physical pressure that you can put on Israel for them to be like, oh, you know what? Okay, you know what? You're right. Okay, guys, Jews, it's time to leave. It was a nice trip down to like memory lane, but apparently, yeah, we can't have Israel at the moment. Palestinians were here first, even though they had like absolutely no right to the place ever. But they were here, so we're gonna give it to them for whatever, because the international pressure is so strong that we just have to like abide. So yeah. Excuse me, Prime Minister, where are we gonna go? Oh, well, apparently to the sea, and drown, because there's no other place that we can actually go. So yeah, I guess we're just gonna have to like die. Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, it was a fun project, but I guess you guys who were born here at this point and have absolutely nothing to do with the history of this place, yeah, you're just gonna have to die. While other people who also were born in this region and have nothing to do with this place as well, they're gonna have to live here because they apparently have more right based on international pressure than we do. This is such an absurd argument of like who has the right to Israel. Whoever can fucking defend it, whoever can fucking fight for it, like fuck off.
Higher cause, it makes all of them look like they're these bad people, and he's doing this, and I think he's own-goaling for something that he's so fucking supportive of. He thinks it's awesome and not a violation of the First Amendment. It's not that I think that, it's that that's what the law is. That's what the law, classic free speech defender stuff here. So again, I am a free speech defender, but I have never said that I'm a free speech absolutist. I've never said this before. I've openly stated in many cases that there are tons of things that I think there should be limitations on free speech about. So when I see somebody who is in every single line of their statements about me, mischaracterizing, intentionally caricaturing, and misrepresenting what I'm saying,
I think honestly, free speech, I would be a free speech absolutist if there wasn't something like the internet, like Twitter and all that stuff. This is the problem, because it's like, I don't mind if a crazy person is like, you know, going to like some square and like yelling his crazy spiel. I have a problem when all these crazy people can actually gather their voices and then have like 1,000 people on a square screaming this thing, because then it's disturbing the peace, right? If it when it's one crazy person yelling around, it's like, yeah, whatever, fuck it, it's just one crazy person, even two, whatever. But when it's a fucking, you know, a group yelling shit, you are at that moment you're gonna be in fear of something happening. Why? Because there's too many people, too many variables at that point, right? There is a certain amount of people that it's like at this point this can turn to a riot rather than just like a peaceful protest of like random people yelling. So I would be more of an free speech absolutist if the internet didn't exist, if crazies could not gather so easily, right? But the problem is crazies can gather so easily now that, you know, you might want to be able to like stop them. But yeah.
have a conversation about this because you're beginning on a foundation that doesn't exist. This does not exist. Everything about this is false. So by engaging with this, all you do is enable it. No, it's not going to happen. Let's see here. We're going to go through the rest of this. So this is what he said originally. It's not good faith at all. It's not even remotely good faith. It's like 180 degrees in the other direction. I think that Hassan, and I don't
Which is, by the way, extremely unfair of Hassan, because Asmongold has been so good faith towards him, even trying to defend him through the Ethan Klein content nuke, which Hassan didn't watch, Asmongold's reaction and how much Asmongold went out of his way to like give the benefit of the doubt to Hassan. Instead, he was acting like a fucking crybaby. He's like, oh, Asmongold, watch Ethan's video. He's my enemy now. It's like, bro, watch the fucking video before you fucking complain about it. Holy shit.
That Hassan, like if I look at this clip, right? Where's like fan comes up there? Here we go. Oh, this is me reacting to it. I saw this video yesterday. That was a while ago.
I'm sorry, you need to stop preaching right through the stream. Boycott.
Wait, is it?
You're preaching right Palestine and you're preaching boycott. Please, can you pretend to the stream?
Okay, I'll put in a glass. Is Pepsi okay?
No.
At least pretend, so you can do it off stream. At least pretend. How fucking stupid is that?
No, I didn't know it was like that. Shutting down. So you have a person who is, in my opinion, to a degree, audience capture. These people got mad at him for drinking Coca-Cola, okay? Like if you look at, for example, my videos about Donald Trump, and if you look at Asmongold, Ukraine, Trump, this has 2,000 downvotes. The reason why is because I expressed a lot of frustration with what Trump was doing, and I disagreed with him. And so I have no problem going against my audience in a lot of cases, and in fact, some of my viewers get frustrated because I do it to a fault. The fact is that I think he needs to be more honest about this, and I think that him playing defense for it, all it's doing is it's radicalizing people against his cause. And I think that he does have, and again, I think Hassan does have fundamentally with the
Well, at this point, like, he can't even go against it, because I think he radicalized everyone who's watching Hassan at this point, aside from like people who's trying to get clips of him for YouTube, which at that point doesn't really matter, because they're gonna get clips regardless of which side he talks to. At this point, like, because we saw this during the Harry Potter video game, right? We saw what happened, like how his community like went off on him for like the whole transgender thing, because they're all just fucking crazy radicals, bro. Right, so we saw what happens when he goes against them, and somebody made the point where it's like after that moment he stopped going against his community on any little subject, right? To completely avoid conflict with his community, because he cannot handle any backlash at all. And this is obvious, like with what's going on with Asmongold. Asmongold literally was super fucking defensive of Hassan and like benefit of the doubt, and he still went after Asmongold, trying to go after Asmongold. Like, he's not very successful. It's just like bringing about more fucking memes against himself. People who already hated Asmongold hate Asmongold. Like, it's like you're not changing anything here. People who hated him already hate him. People who like him already like him, and people who are in the middle just don't care, right? So you're not doing anything. So yeah, he just can't take criticism. He can't take any backlash. So. He's a baby.
When you make the people that are these people that have had their life fucking destroyed, when you make being pro them, being pro terrorist group, what you do is you make them look bad. You alienate average people against them. But we'll keep going. We'll watch the rest of it.
With evidence to the contrary, Asmongold immediately said, if it's true, then I guess he's right and I'm
And
wrong.
I wish you could do the same. I wish he could say, if it's true that a green card holder can be deported for having connections to groups that have shown positivity towards terrorism, then he's absolutely justified to be deported. That's all I'm asking. And you can disagree with this, right? Like ideologically, but to say that that's not the case is completely ridiculous. It is stated that way. Do you think the Palestinians are Hamas supporters? I think a lot of them are, but I think that a lot of them also aren't. And I think that a lot of the people that are Hamas supporters are the devil you know supporters. These are people who support Hamas because while they might not like Hamas, they want Hamas to stop the people that have been bombing them. And I think that it's understandable that many Palestinians would support Hamas. I'm not justifying it, but I'm saying it's understandable. So I don't hold it against the Palestinians. And even if you say it's 80%, that means 1 in 5 people doesn't deserve to be fucking categorized as a terrorist supporter. That's why I apologize for it. I think it's wrong. I think using a generalization like that to dehumanize those people and caricature their viewpoints is unfair to them, it's unfair to their cause, and it's dishonest. So no, I'm not going to do that. And even if it is 80%, that's still not enough.
The question is what their cause is. Because you can be like, oh, I don't support Hamas, but I support River to the Sea. You're effectively doing the same thing, right? I have yet to meet a Palestinian supporter, but it's not like I'm going out of my way to meet them either. But like, you know, the ones that are online, at least, I haven't met one Palestinian supporter who is reasonable, aside from Palestinian supporters who are Israeli or Jewish, which is kind of fucking ironic. The only Palestinian supporters that want Palestinians to have their own land, to have freedom and stuff like that, and like have equal rights and like have part in the Israeli government, stuff like that, are other Jews in Israel. They're progressive, they're leftist. I don't agree with them, but they're the only ones. Everyone else who I saw, now again, I also saw like people in Gaza who are like blaming Hamas for everything. So they do exist, right? But anyone outside of that region, like any Palestinian supporter in Canada, in the US, in Europe, no. Like I have never seen any one of those that are like rational, that like think practically about the solution. For them it's like one thing or the other. Yeah, it's fucking crazy. Where it's like you guys don't even live in that place. You guys are not even Palestinians, right? You have nothing to do with that place. Like, I have family there, but it's like, okay, so listen to what your family says, okay? Because people who live there, like in that region, both Israelis and Palestinians, right? They are so it's so insane to me that the people who are living in the conflict are more reasonable to an extent than the progressives that live like way offshore, right? They have nothing to do with it. They're just like, they have their bias, and it's like, and they're the more emotional ones. You would think when you're like stepping away from a situation, you are more logical, but no, these people are just like way more emotional than the people who are like on the ground, who need a rational solution so like the bombing would stop.
For me to say that they're all collectively guilty, that's outrageous. It's more complicated than that, and anybody who's honest knows that, right?
So
And
a
it's
realistic
how the law works. I
solution.
don't really know exactly how the law works. This is
Why,
what I've heard.
then why do you spend 48 fucking hours worth of content saying? Oh my.
Is Hassan a lawyer? Like, the fact is, neither of us know what the fuck we're talking about. Neither of us are lawyers. I mean, neither of us are lawyers. That's not how it works. Yeah, exactly. Now, in my opinion, by the way, this is still my opinion. I don't want to have anybody in the fucking country that's not a naturalized citizen that's supporting a terrorist organization. And I don't think that we need to afford the full rights of freedom of speech to people that are not even citizens to advocate for terror.
Okay, you don't like the First Amendment. That's it.
See?
Yeah, that's not what he said. Yeah, people who are visitors, people who are not citizens, yeah, the Constitution is not for them. The Constitution is for the citizens. That's, again, misrepresenting what he said.
This is what I've been saying. What are we doing here?
You don't like the First Amendment then. You are anti-free speech. That's it. You are anti-free speech.
Oh, God. Oh, jeez. I don't know what to say, guys. Can you be deported as a U.S. resident? Yeah, can a naturalized citizen be deported? The short answer is yes. Well, no, you're right. They can actually still deport you if you're a citizen, but like the bar for that is...
Yeah. Anyways, that's the whole point of the video. Honestly, from here on, it's probably going to be just repeating itself. But like, yeah, like at that point exactly, like what Hassan just said, it's like, oh well, you don't like free speech for like non-citizens, so you are anti the Constitution, you're anti-free speech. Like that is completely not what he said. Overblowing what he said to like proportions that are just not even fucking realistic. Right? He's just making shit up. Right? Again, Hassan is a fucking retard. It is what it is. He's just trying as hard as he can to like, demonize basically, because like that's what he's insinuating. He's trying to like character assassinate, destroy the character, manipulate the character of Asmongold. And honestly, I wouldn't call him successful. It's like there are already people who hate Asmongold, and they're just gonna agree with whatever Hassan says, just for the fact that he's saying something bad about Asmongold, right? Is he gonna get much more viewers because of it? I highly doubt it. I mean, he's getting light now because of the conflict, but like, bro, once Asmongold is tired of the conflict and stops paying attention to it, and Hassan will try to farm it, it will not go anywhere, right? Which usually what happens. Asmongold doesn't do conflicts for very long. So yeah, anyways, I'm not gonna keep reacting. I think the idea is pretty obvious. Hassan is just a fucking retard, man. Like, it's like he's a puppet on the strings of his community. Like, legit has like, it's kind of insane. Like I don't want to say that he doesn't have his own thoughts, but it's like his thoughts have to go through the filter of like how his community is going to react to his thoughts, kind of thing. Which is kind of crazy to me to live this way. I'm surprised he's like not in a what do you call it, in a straitjacket. Honestly, it is actually insane to live that way. Anyways, that's it for this video. Peace. I think I'm gonna call that one. I don't know. I'm thinking about like calling it Asmongold versus Hassan is retarded. Is actually retarded. Or I can just call it Hassan is still actually retarded. Or it's just still retarded. I think still retarded. Yeah, still retarded might actually be good. Alright, time for less politics. Let's see. Less political subject. Okay, let's see what the Last Epoch versus Path of Exile drama is.
It's
Yeah.
Rax. Today has been an extremely interesting day, so I got a pretty good video for you today.
Okay, so No Rest for the Wicked. It's still in early access, so not very like it's cool. It's great that they're adding it, but it's still early access, so not as hyped for it, right? This can wait. I don't care about this. D4, honestly, if you're still playing D4, you're wrong. The main problem is this. It took 9 months for Last Epoch to release Season 2, PoE 2. Finally comes out with some new content. It's still early access, but like this early access is better than most fucking fully released ARPGs. However, PoE 2 is gonna change a lot more. It's only one new class, and you would have to relearn everything right now. Not everything, but a lot for the passes, for the for the trees and stuff like that. Maybe weapons, uniques and stuff like that. To the point where it's like, because it's all subject to change, do I really wanna relearn everything so that I can, when they change it again, I have to relearn it again? And again, it could be like motivating to people. It's like, oh man, like a new information. Then it's like it's brand new information. It's brand new information. It's like a brand new game. Maybe for you it would be interesting. For me, not really. I want like the finished product. So for me, I'm probably skipping this. I don't really care about the Huntress that much. Paladin maybe would have been, but like don't care about the class too much. The endgame changes probably not gonna be anywhere near what I want it to be, so it doesn't really matter. So we are only looking at Last Epoch right now, right? We have a class rework for my personal favorite class. Hell, fucking yeah. More crafting, the new faction, right? Hopefully, endgame is a lot more interesting now. It seemed like it is. I think Last Epoch has the most potential. Like it has a very solid foundation to work with, but they are lacking resources to work with that foundation, as you know, as is obvious from the 9 months between seasons. PoE 2 has a pretty good foundation too, and has the resources. But because it has the resources, also, I know it will be there regardless. Last Epoch might not.
There's so much news about all the different ARPGs, Last Epoch, Diablo 4, Path of Exile 2, No Rest for the Wicked, Drama. Myself, Gazzy DMs, Zizarin, and Woody chatted about it for like 2 hours
And
on
it's
stream.
actually like the worst part is they're all in April, which is like, fuck off, right? Now PoE finally has the. Sorry, I'm like literally just started the video. I'm already just pausing. Pause, champ. PoE 2. I remember when like Blizzard was always like when PoE releases something, Blizzard had to release something to like try and like stop them, right? To try to like remove the hype from PoE and whatever. Now PoE 2 feels like it does the same for Last Epoch, and again, it earned its spot to do that. It earned its ability. However, I think it would be a bigger person move, right? I want to be the bigger person. Who's the bigger person? I think PoE 2 could have delayed it by a few days, like at least give Last Epoch like maybe a week, not 2 days, right? And again, I don't think Last Epoch should change its date, because they're like, these guys can always throw something to like block Last Epoch. So at this point, it's like there's no point, right? Well, these two. This one, obviously not, but like these two can always. There's like too much content, too many games, that it's like it's impossible to release something and not be countered by something else. So at this point, it's like you just have to like release when you release it. I don't like that PoE 2 is more than likely actively blocking off Last Epoch. Diablo, well, Blizzard is known to be doing it, and like honestly, if you're still playing Diablo, I mean, you're wrong, but it is what it is.
I guess that's enough hype. Let's just get into it. So let's start with No Rest for the Wicked. I'll save the drama for the end. Maybe we can timestamp this. You can go to the drama if you want. No Rest for the Wicked. Do you guys know what that game is, or do you remember that game?
No timestamp.
It's a Souls-like ARPG. Well, they had an announcement today, and you can see over here in this column, they updated literally everything about the game. I mean, like actually everything. The game is now going to be twice as big, and it's already a decent game. They redid the campaign with new zones, new side quests. They have new weapons. After you beat the already twice as big campaign, they have a new endgame system where like blight or pestilence or something spreads around the world. You have to cleanse it. It spawns bosses. There's endgame crafting.
Nice.
There's tons of quality of life. They gave you way more stash space.
I
They
need to play
completely
that
redid
game.
how loot is happening, and this is launching on April 30th. I really like this game. I like this game so much. Like a lot of streamers will say,
Which
"Oh,
is
I really
fine.
like
It's
No Rest for
far
the Wicked."
enough.
Well, you want to know a little fact about me? I beat it twice, full game clear twice.
Oh wow.
So I actually really do like this game, and I'm going to be playing it for sure. April 30th. Now, let's go to Diablo 4. Diablo 4 released the first day of their PTR, and usually I make a separate video for it, but I can summarize my findings pretty quickly here. So the new stuff is here. The Uber boss, Belial, is not in the, from what I'm hearing, it's actually not even in the PTR. So we can't test that. The bosses got reworked, and I didn't get to test this, but Woody did, and Woody said that progressing through like the torments and the bosses are actually significantly harder, as Blizzard said that they would be. So progressing through is going to be tougher, so that takes care of these things. There's new uniques and boss powers. I purposely didn't test the boss powers, even though I unlocked them, and the reason why I didn't is because I want to save it for the launch. I want to have fun. If I try them all now, then that's gonna, I'm not trying to be negative at all, but usually in Diablo 4, the content gets consumed very quickly. If I play with the boss powers now, then what am I going to do later on? So I purposely didn't use them. But I did test the leveling, and I leveled, you can see the timer, 3 hours and 19 minutes. I had some crashes at the end. I was only level 58 and a half. But I had so many crashes and bugs that I think on the actual launch, you're going to do it in about 3 hours. They said they wanted to make the leveling about twice as long. That was absolutely not what happened. You're going to go 1 to 60 in 3 hours unless they change something. And I believe
it's like you can't let people level extremely fucking fast and then try to slow it down. You can only speed it up. People will not be happy if you slow something down, especially when it's the least enjoyable aspect of the game. Okay? If you want to make leveling meaningful, you should have done that from the start. You're not gonna make leveling meaningful so far into the game. Like, it's just not gonna happen. Everything that happens, like, you start off, the campaign is slow, yada yada, leveling is slow, cool. People will try to speed through it because that is the repetitive aspect of the game. You can only do it so much with enjoyment. At some point you're like, okay, like, let's get this over with. Even PoE 2, as good as their campaign is, people are not going to be happy to keep doing the campaign, right? Over and over for every class and every season, right? They're not going to make multiple characters. They're going to make the one character, whatever that is, like, the season is around, is focused on, or like maybe like they want to try something out, but they're not going to make multiple characters, right? And playing through, like, I don't even know, like, I think the campaign is going to be like 40 hours, because like Act 1, 2, 3 is like supposed to be like 20 hours-ish. Like, that's their goal, right? And then like Act 4, 5, 6 is going to be another 20 or so hours. It's like, most people are not going to be making multiple characters. You're going to have some people that do, obviously, but like for the most part, you're going to make one character per season, play it for like a few weeks, drop it, right? So making the campaign, now imagine like PoE was like, oh, you know what? Like, we don't like how fast you can go through the campaign because people are going like what was like 30 minutes. People finished Act 1 during the competition thing, right? And it's like, first of all, that's not regular players. But even if it was, right, you're not gonna make that shit slower. People are not gonna be happy.
that this comes out the 29th. So the 29th and then the 30th for this is not exactly favorable. But, well, more on that in a second. So then we got
Honestly,
PoE 2 news.
Honestly, though, this, in my opinion, doesn't matter. These games are so different, then it really doesn't matter. This, Diablo 4, is when you don't have any brain, right? And you just still play this because, like, your brain rotted and it doesn't function anymore. So, like, you play Diablo 4 because you can at least still understand it. Whereas, like, this game that requires you to, like, methodically dodge, block, parry, whatever, abilities, and like has actual boss fights and not just like HP sponges. Okay, this game is not for people who play D4. If you're playing D4, you probably cannot play this. If you're still playing D4, unless you're a streamer, you probably cannot play No Rest for the Wicked because you're just so fucking, your brain is just mush. That's how it is.
news, and here's where
That's how
kind of
it
the
is.
drama sets in.
I didn't make the
We
rules.
already know PoE2 is going to get a lot of stuff. They're going to get at least one new class. I think they said it was like the Huntress or the Amazon or something with
Yeah,
the
Huntress,
javelins.
yeah.
Look really cool. You're going to update the
Yeah.
end game and the gems and the passive tree and the end game passive tree and the towers. Are we going to get a new act? We're not sure. They updated weapon swap and weapons and uniques. That's what we know about
No
so
new
far.
act.
I think
more
they're doing
than
a
likely.
conversation about everything at the end of March. So that's happening. But the controversy comes from it's launching April 4th.
Yep.
And the weird thing about that is Last Epoch has announced in February that their big, huge update, if you don't remember, class rework, crafting, a new faction, dungeon rework, new sets, and the set rework about salvaging set bonuses and putting in
I
your,
would be
items.
so
New bosses,
happy. I would be so fucking happy if Last Epoch's launch destroys PoE2 launch. Not because I hate PoE2, but because this is a dick move. And I always root for the small guy as long as it's like I always root for the small guy when the big guy is acting like a bully kind of thing. Right? Which by the way, PoE earned its spot as the bully, doesn't mean it has to act like one. So yeah, they could easily move this up a bit. No one would be mad about it if they moved it up, and then honestly they would probably earn more points. Not because like people are excited to play LE. I'm sure there's plenty of PoE and PoE2 players that don't care about Last Epoch, but this would earn them public points. Let's just say it like that, right? Like public perception about PoE would go a bit up if they let LE at least like maybe give them like the week or the weekend. You know, when is April 2nd? I think it's like midweek, honestly. Yeah, it's Wednesday, right? And then the weekend is what PoE is taking. So if PoE gave this weekend to Last Epoch, it would be a very nice move from them. They don't have to, obviously. They earned their spot as the top dog right now. So I understand it, and like everyone should be, you know, moving around to like not fight with them, which looks like what Diablo 4 did, and they decide to pick on No Rest for the Wicked instead. But like it's still a dick move. It's still a bully move. But yeah.
Champions, 30 new uniques. I think they said WASD is now in the game. Idle crafting in the end game. It launches April 2nd. So
And even if
right
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm pausing so much. Canadian. Sorry. Even if PoE is not would not be doing it on purpose, where it's like trying to cog block Last Epoch, even if it's just actually a coincidence. Even if it is, there is no way they're not aware after this announcement that they're not aware of this problem, right? And it's like it's not a matter of like, well, we are the bigger guy, the LE should move, right? It's like you're the bigger guy. It would be very nice of you to take the step back, to give LE its space. Not a great business move, in my opinion. Obviously, like being the bully is the better business move, but in terms of public perception, that would be the nicer move to do. And Last Epoch made it clear that it is impossible for them to move the timelines. First of all, it's already been 9 months. Second of all, there are too many games for such a small developer. There are too many games that will interrupt its launch. That's like even if they move away from PoE2, they're still gonna be stuck with some other release that is gonna be in their way, right? So it doesn't even matter what they do, they will like maybe like they'll suffer less, they'll suffer more, whatever, but they would still suffer by some other known IP getting released at a similar time. So it really doesn't matter what they do. They cannot release after PoE2, right? Because PoE2 people are going to be grinding that shit out. So it's like, what are they going to release? A week after PoE2? That's not enough. 2 weeks after PoE2? Well, 2 weeks after PoE2 is going to be what? The 16th, right? It's like hopefully 2 weeks after PoE2 is enough, but probably not. You need like maybe like 3 weeks to a month, because that's usually like when people start dropping off from ARPGs. But if they take that time, they're falling into the D4, which by the way, again, if you're still playing D4, God bless your soul. Honestly, LE might be able to compete with D4 at this point, but again, D4 does have more players as a whole, just because it is more brain dead friendly.
PoE2, April 2nd, then April 4th. right next to each other,
Yeah.
and then these two are right next to each other.
Yeah.
I would really doubt that these dates. I would doubt that these two companies
Competing.
maybe pay attention to each other's dates at all. But over here, Tencent owns 100% of Grinding Gear Games, and I think
Yeah.
they own, I don't know, 25% of Last Epoch. And according to Zizman,
Really?
they're actually aware of this, and they're launching essentially on the same day. So
I didn't even know about
2 days
that.
apart. So we had a big discussion about it, and we seem to be have a general conclusion here that this setup really hurts Last Epoch mostly. So the people that absolutely blast PoE, and that's like their only game, they're completely unaffected by this. They don't care. They just want the PoE content to be out as soon as it's ready.
Yeah.
So it comes out on the 4th. But I think Last Epoch is going to hurt here. I think it's PoE being the bigger game currently. I think them going 2 days later is going to really cannibalize them. And then there's all these conspiracy theories about, oh, Tencent did this on purpose, so Last Epoch would suffer, and then they could buy out the last 75% of EHG cheaper. That was a conspiracy theory that Gazzy shared. Not
Possible.
the craziest idea I've ever heard.
Possible.
But it really hurts EHG with Last Epoch, and really fans of both of the games. The general sentiment that I was hearing from people was they'll play Last Epoch for 2 days, and when PoE content comes out, it's PoE time, and Last Epoch can just go away for all they care. My personal opinion is I like Last Epoch. I think the game is fun. I think the game is better than most people give it credit for.
Yep.
And I would personally like to play Last Epoch for more than 2 days. So my current plan, I might change it, but my current plan would be to play Last Epoch the 2nd and the 3rd, play PoE 2 on the 4th, and then play half and half Last Epoch and PoE 2 for the next 2 days until I'm guessing I get bored of Last Epoch first, but we'll see how it goes. That would be my current plan. But then the next thought here is, can either of them change their dates? Well, I think PoE 2 definitely knew Last Epoch's date ahead of time. So if they wanted to change their date, they wouldn't have picked the 4th. So I think PoE 2 is set in stone that they're going on the 4th. So then it's up to Last Epoch. What do they want to do? One thing that's very difficult to move around, or at least to set up administratively, is Twitch drops. So I think that they've already nailed that down with Twitch to have the Twitch drops start on April 2nd. I don't know, maybe they could move that, but that might add like a difficulty here. And maybe Last Epoch just doesn't want to deal with it. Maybe they say, we're not moving again.
Not only that, but like they're gonna have to move it so far away. It's gonna end up like it's like they can't move it like that. Like they can't move it a week. A week is not enough for PoE. Like if you're blasting PoE 2, a week is not enough. The only real solution here is either move it away for like a month and a half away from these guys at least, right? Specifically D4. Move it away for like a month and a half, which is like then going to be like over 10 months, which people are like already fucking excited for like a new season for Last Epoch. So it's like it's just it would, in my opinion, would cause more damage to Last Epoch if they move it, right? PoE 2 can easily move it, and like people would not give a shit. Like yeah, some people who like are PoE 2 like this is their the gospel, right? They would probably like not be happy with like waiting an extra week. But for the most part, I think like PoE 2 would practically not suffer by moving it an extra week. And the worst part is if PoE 2 launches with too many bugs on April 4th, this would actually look even worse on PoE 2's side compared to Last Epoch. So yeah.
Dates for other games in the past, and maybe they're getting sick of being pushed around. I'm really not sure. But especially since they're both owned by Tencent, I would personally, as an ARPG enjoyer, and honestly, we could say it over here about D4 and No Rest for the Wicked, can we declare some kind of ceasefire here? Like when we know another game is about to come at a certain time, can we not schedule it like, I don't know, within 2 days of each other or within
not
the same
going to be
day?
possible.
Honestly, if you go later, even a week later or 2 days or 2 weeks later, you let people get it out of their systems, right? The people that like Last Epoch and PoE 2, if you give them 2 weeks, they can get Last Epoch out of their systems. I think you'll have even more people playing PoE 2. Then people say, well, PoE 2 is way bigger. They don't give a shit about Last Epoch. I mean, maybe, and that's I guess a reasonable take, but also they're owned by the same company. And I mean, wouldn't you just like to have more players? I mean, I think you get more. If everyone gets Last Epoch out of their systems, I think in almost all cases, you get more players. Okay? So I think you could argue it the other way as well. Yeah, so that's kind of the interesting thing that's going on. Strange move. I like both games. I'll play all 4 of them, especially the No Rest for the Wicked thing. That update sounded pretty sick actually. But I don't know. This would be definitely a topic where I would be very interested to hear what you guys think and see what comments people upvote and don't. But this is not the first time that this has happened. And I don't know, is this happening on purpose? Is it just a magical coincidence that it's 2
This has
days
to be
apart?
on purpose.
I think in this case, it actually might be a coincidence. I mean, I think Diablo 4 had their date first, and No Rest for the
These guys, this is a coincidence. This doesn't matter. Like these are also not. They're not competing on the genre at all. These are completely different games. They just have the same, top-down view. This doesn't matter. This is definitely like orchestrated. This is not a coincidence. There's absolutely no way within 2 days.
The Wicked picked the day after. That's a questionable date choice there. If that's the order of operations on how that happened. But in general, as an ARPG enjoyer and enjoy PoE1 as well, I would love it if these gaming companies would stop releasing games at least in the same week. At least give me 7 days to blast them.
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of people, and I think in some cases the companies would benefit as well. But I'm interested in what you guys think. Do you think this is planned?
Yeah, I honestly believe that like PoE2 could take like make it like April 11th instead. Ideally April 18th, and again PoE2 in my opinion this would be a great way for PoE2 to shit on Blizzard for Blizzard trying to fuck with PoE before. PoE2 now is by far more popular than D4 in terms, well, again, not in player base because there's more brain dead people than there are like actual players. So maybe not in terms of players, but people who play both PoE2 and D4, if you had them choose, they will play PoE2. So that would affect D4. D4 numbers are not going to get affected unless people who are playing D4 also play PoE2, right? So, and if they all play both, they more than likely prefer PoE2. So in that case, PoE2 releasing closer to D4 would actually be a nice revenge against Blizzard, right? Either way, though, this is a dick move. It is what it is. Not much more you can say about this. I don't like this bully move, but and again, yeah, if they're both owned by Tencent, then this is more than likely it's very orchestrated. This is probably very orchestrated. But yeah, let me know what you think. If you think PoE2 here is the bully, is doing this on purpose or not. And maybe you just don't care and like fuck Last Epoch, then like, you know, it is what it is. Okay. Let's see. I need to respond here to something, and after this, we're gonna watch the only time I carry a new player is in stealth missions, because a lot of new players won't have good stealth frames. New player here, start 1 month. Okay, the only time I carry mission, stealth frame or in survival missions when they start to struggle. LOL. And honestly, if people do survival for more than 5 minutes, then it's fine to carry them. Like, that's not a big deal. Let's see. Exceptions would be alerts, invasions, fissures, or generally any specialized mission that give limited time items. Even if you get carried, if you have the chance, go for it. Yeah. Alright, so please don't tell me I turned it off. I think it's here. Oh, thank God. Okay. Woo! I thought I turned it off because it's always a pain in the ass to find where I stopped the video last time. Okay, I'm gonna go to the washroom. Maybe grab something to eat so I don't interrupt this guy as much. This is probably gonna be the last time I'm reacting to him. There's no way I'm going through another like 2.5 hours with this guy. He's too fucking retarded for me. But yeah, give me a second. Gonna go prep something. Just waiting for the foot to warm up. Another minute or so. Do up the. Yummy. That's 40 calories now, huh? Oh well. Probably my meal is more than 1,000. So. It's hot. Not hot. Okay, here we go again. Here we fucking go again. Alright, this is probably gonna be the last time. Unless I don't know, lose my mind again and do one more of these. God. Alright, Discount Destiny. I got food, so you can talk more, and I hopefully will talk less. Let's go.
He's going to fall over, as you'll see.
These are an Islamic military group. They're known for their cruel measures, forcibly recruiting child soldiers.
They're known for their cruel measures. Bunch of zero context headlines. You can read this one, for example, and this is an article by DW, which is obviously a German, and it's just criminal. These guys are doing a salute.
We just saw this, so.
Salute, right? Ignore the context.
Islamic
This one, for example, and this says that both the mentioned famine and starvation in Yemen on the that and the in 2018 head of so yeah, Saudi and Israel aligned shipping in order to try to do something.
This is all like covered in the last one. That's why I'm skipping it.
Be clear, they're not. Ethan Klein is someone who previously has made clear that he's a lesser evilist. He supports Joe Biden, even though Joe Biden does genocide. Less government, even if the Houthis were terrible, horrible, evil people, as you're trying to claim, their blockade against Israel, what it's doing in Gaza, would still be just, would still be good. And I'm glad they're doing it. They're one of the few people in the world who are trying to do anything for Gaza. Gaza, a place besieged not just by Israel, but by all of the most powerful countries in the world who are supporting Israel. No one has taken any real action for them, aside from really Yemen and a tiny little bit of action taken by like Hezbollah. I guess the Hezbollah action, fortunately, was okay, I suppose, and Iran. And I do not really give a shit, honestly, about you splitting hairs about how bad these people are, because ultimately you don't care about how bad they are. What you're against is not that. What you're against is what is them taking action against Israel, because you were an Israeli Zionist ethno-nationalist. You were against them taking real action, trying to take action to stop a genocide in Gaza, trying to impose some sort of penalty on the countries carrying out said genocide and supporting it. That's ultimately what this is about, and we can't lose sight of that. This is bullshit. It's not what he's worried about here at all. He knows that the most difficult position here is actually arguing against the blockade and the merits of the blockade alone. So he's trying to like prime the viewer and poison the well by saying the people carrying out the blockade are bad. Look at all these bad things they do. Totally out of the context of why they're like this, why Yemen is so poor, the fact that the imperialist countries that he supports are a massive part of the reason for why the Middle East and Yemen.
If you give context to every evil action, then technically nobody is actually evil, because everyone has justification for their action. So this argument is just fucking dumb, but okay.
In particular, is relatively poor, and that said poverty is what breeds reactionary views and sentiments.
Virtually worthless. Women have virtually no rights, and homosexuality, of course, is punishable by death.
What do you fucking expect? Do you want these people living in abject fucking poverty in the midst of a fucking genocide to have like the most progressive, to be like enlightened women's rights advocates and legalize gay marriage or something, dude? Do you know what the best way to combat poverty in Yemen would be? For your country not to commit genocide there. For the USA and Israel not to have backed a Saudi genocide there. That's what would be the best way to combat this stuff in Yemen. To combat these regressive attitudes in Yemen. But you literally are not even going to mention any of that. You're in fact going to frame what is in large part due to the Saudis as the fault of the fucking Houthis. And worse, you're doing all of this by posting Saudi state propaganda and ultimately supporting the Saudi genocide of Yemen in doing so. You're siding with the Saudis here, who the Houthis mainly fight. Ethan, what happens if you're gay in Saudi Arabia? What do they do to women in Saudi Arabia, Ethan? Well, you just got to buy your fucking logic. Saudi Arabia also doesn't have the excuse for these reactionary views, given that it's not a poor country like Yemen is. How crazy it is that you're totally okay with spreading fucking Saudi propaganda when it's convenient for you in favor of that genocide of Yemen.
What do you mean they don't have an excuse? The excuse is the exact same in both situations. You can't be gay in Saudi because it goes against the doctrine, it goes against the religion. You can't be gay in Yemen because it goes against the religion. Has nothing to do with the blockade. Even before the blockade, this was the case. Like even before Israel existed, this was the case. So it has nothing to do with Israel and the blockades. Like. It's like, oh, they can't have gays because the Israeli blockade. They can't because the Saudis are blocking the thing. So it's like they can't be gay because they don't have time to be progressive. It's like they were like that before. So, they were like that before the blockades. So, kind of like argument is a bit, just because you can give them like a more like a reason. Right now, to justify it, you can't justify it for like the generations of where it was still people getting beheaded for it. So,
Yemen, you're totally okay with weaponizing the genocidal Goebbels Der Stürmer propaganda designed to legitimize the genocide of Yemeni people put out there by Saudi Arabia, which executes gay people. And then you turn around and say, whoa, these guys are evil because they do the same thing that the people whose propaganda I'm spreading here also do. You're such a dumb motherfucker, Ethan Klein.
That lines up with leftist values. Now, just how little rights do
By the way, last I checked, Israel is not at war with Saudi Arabia, right? So, like, why would he even bring them up in this conversation? He's not out here in support of Saudi Arabia, like saying that Saudi Arabia is like they're good people. He just says that as a progressive, these are not values that that you should agree with if you're a progressive. Like, since when do progressives need justification for anything? They just, pitchforks first and then ask questions later, No, actually, they'd never ask questions. It's just pitchforks first, and that's it.
women in the Houthis Yemen have? Well, according to this, there's been 1,108.
Well, according to what, man? What is this? I'll tell you what it is. This is a headline, Anadolu Ajansi, which is Turkish state media. Now, this might surprise you. In Yemen, Turkey supported the US and Saudi-backed former Yemeni government that the Houthis have now overthrown. So obviously, Turkish state media is going to say something like this. Let's check out the evidence for this. It's based on a report. Let us look at like the website of one of the authors of this report. Now, just to be clear beforehand, obviously, sexism is going to be fucking rampant in a poor conservative country like Yemen, with or without the Houthis. And that is really to be expected because the way that Yemen is specifically a result of European colonialism, followed by now further European impositions onto Yemen via what has been a totally brutal genocidal campaign by Saudi Arabia and the US to essentially keep the country down as reprisal for them daring to.
So he's blaming the lack of progressiveness in countries like Yemen on Western colonization, whatever. Colonialization. Yeah, colonialization. As far as I know, even with the Western colonialization, there were plenty of Arab places that were not even remotely close to being colonized. Colonization. Colonization. There's no extra L there. There were no. There's plenty of Arab nations, Arab countries that were not under any Western colonization. Yet, they still like this. You can replace this with Iran. You can replace this with Iraq. You can replace this with just any Arab nation really. And you will probably get some truth out of it regardless. So, blaming it on the West, that the reason these guys are primitive beasts that rape and abuse women, I don't know, man. Seems like a bit of a weak argument. Just tiny bit, you know. China was under Western colonization at some point as well. I don't see them raping and abusing women. It's definitely not to this extent, right? Now, did women not really have rights and stuff like that and yada yada, but like that was kind of like the whole world. But they moved away from it. So, something about these people, these cultures, for some reason, makes it so that they can't move away from abusing women. Also, by the way, let's take Iran for a second. Iran was very westernized in like what, the 1960s, 70s, until they created the revolution that literally took them back like 200 years of progress, and now women again don't really have rights. But let's blame it on the Western colonization, not on the culture of the location, not of the culture of the people and their religion. Let's blame it on the Western evil bastards.
Try to overthrow the US-friendly government. It's more circular logic, right? Like, our imperialism is justified against these people because they have regressive social views, but those regressive social views are caused by poverty which is imposed upon this country by the imperialism that ensures that these countries can never ever advance, can never ever get their people any sort of material alleviation, from which generally, as Western countries themselves have shown over their own material advancements over the last 100, 200 years or so, breed progressive social progress on things like women's rights and gay rights. Not in the USA anymore though. Ethan justifies all of his hatreds with circular logic, where the result of the thing that he supports being done to these people justifies that thing being done to them. Imperialists are always like this. Look out for it. So let's just look at one of the organizations cited by this Turkish state media. Report, like the Coalition of Women for Peace in Yemen. Check out their website, and they have nothing regarding like who funds them. They won't tell you about that. I wonder why. It's 100% the Saudis. They're not going to tell you that though. There's no legal obligation for them to do so because they run outside of the confines of like US law, which is where organizations would usually have to tell you this stuff, or EU law and stuff like that. So this organization is an initiative of Noura Al-Jari, who, according to her own About Me page here, was a member of the Ministry of Youth and Sports in Yemen, aka she was a former member of the outgoing Yemeni government, Saudi-backed government, and now she has formed this organization which is called Women for Peace in Yemen. Now you would think an organization that's for peace in Yemen would be like non-denominational, call out the atrocities of everyone. No. Specifically it says here, our aim is to free women who have been arbitrarily detained by the Houthis. Only the Houthis. They don't care about anyone arbitrarily detained by the government, only the Houthis. It's almost like this organization barely even exists and is essentially just a propaganda front to, like, if you look at their social media handles, it's under Houthis. It's all about opposing the Houthis, providing negative propaganda about the Houthis in English. They even have like a trailer for a film, Detained Under the Houthis. It's like the entire point of this organization is just fairly lazy anti-Houthi propaganda for an English-speaking audience. I guarantee you, if you looked into like who funds this organization, who's really behind it, it would be Saudi Arabia. But don't worry, because he's about to cite another source soon enough that is much more directly and clearly Saudi Arabian. Like, he's basically citing negative propaganda in media with an incentive to provide negative propaganda about the Houthis, to tell you why the Houthis are bad, which, even if all of it were true, is the same shit that the previous government was doing and would not delegitimize what Ethan really has a problem with, which is their blockade against the genocide being carried out by Israel.
81 violations committed by Houthi rebels against women, including torture, rape,
Wow, it said that in the headline. It must be true.
and murder. So,
Ethan does zero source analysis, zero critical analysis.
the Houthis have a very wholesome flag, as you can see here. It says, translated, Allah Akbar, death to America, death to Israel.
What's wrong with death to America and death to Israel? These are the two countries that have victimized the Middle East.
Allah Akbar, death to America, death to Israel,
What's wrong with death to America and death to Israel?
Akbar, death to America, death to Israel,
What's wrong with death to America and death to Israel? These are the two countries that have victimized the Middle East more so than anyone else. What's wrong with that? If you would be Middle Eastern, you wouldn't hate America and Israel, especially being dirt poor as most people in Yemen are. I don't know. I don't think they're human.
and a curse upon the Jews. And that's all of them, not just the ones in Israel. And of course,
Oh, do you know what Jew means to someone in the Middle East? All that they know about Jewish people is that there is a state that calls itself the Jewish state in Israel.
I was gonna say that the people who are in the Middle East, they are so stupid that they don't know that there are Jews outside of Israel. Even though these stupid people made an agreement, a treaty, whatever, with Hitler to kill Jews. But yeah, they only know about the Jews in Israel.
That brutalizes people in the name of what they say is Judaism and Jewishness. If that's all that you know about Jews, and you have a state that equates itself with Jews in general, and you take it at its word and you say, okay, well, I hate Jews then. Like, you have to at least put this within that context, but Ethan doesn't do that, does he? Here's what Israel does, okay? Israel brands people's faces with the Star of David. Here's a Palestinian man whose face was branded with the Star of David. He's a salted field in Gaza with the Star of David in it.
So, whoever did this deserves to be put in jail. This is not the Israeli way. This is not what Israel stands for. Okay? This is probably some asshole, what do you call it? What do you call them? The people who in prison, who like the guards, whatever. It's probably one of them who was a fucking asshole. Israeli police brand Star of David onto Palestinian. Whoever did this deserves to go to jail. I don't care. He could be a terrorist that killed 1,000 people. You don't do this to captives. Just kill him and that. Honestly, killing him I prefer if they kill him over this. The only people who I think deserve to be like branded and shit are rapists. Especially if they're like pedophile rapists. If he is known to be a rapist and whatever, and honestly, abuse him for the rest of his life. I don't give a fuck. If he's just killed people, kill him. You know, if he abused them, abuse him the same way and then kill him. Eye for an eye. But yeah, if he's a captive, yeah, this is treat him like a human being, even because like I don't. This is vile behavior, and the only time I would accept this is if the person was actually like a rapist. Even like honestly, even if he was a child murderer, I wouldn't be okay with this. But if he raped the child, I would be okay with this. You know what I mean?
Palestinian man whose face was branded with the Star of David. He's a salted field in Gaza with the Star of David in it. Here's another one carved into the field with tank tracks. Israel is a country that claims that it's for Jews so much that the Israeli Supreme Court does not let Jews register their nationality on their identity card as Israeli because it says that doing so would undermine Israel's Jewishness because according to the Israeli state, Israelis don't exist, only Jews exist. So Israel is a state that says it's for Jews and by Jews and carries out endless atrocities against everyone in the region, not just Palestinians, pretty much everyone they attack. And it does this while saying it's for Jews by Jews, as I just said. And Ethan Klein removes all of this context because that's all of these people know about Jews. These people see Israel say, I'm murdering.
See, again, the whole point here is that when, a soldier is acting up and doing shit like this, right? Where is it?
Field in Gaza with
when, this is definitely not an order from above, right? This is just some soldiers, dicking around. But because soldiers dicking around, this obviously gives a bad image for the rest of the world about Israel. However, this is a soldier dicking around. To say this is like Israel's is responsible is literally the same argument of saying that it's like a random person in Palestine, in Gaza, right, is responsible for October 7th that Hamas, without any like knowledge of the civilians, went and did. Okay, So Hamas on October 7 attack Israel. Has nothing to do with the civilians in that place. Like, they didn't know about this. They were left in the dark. They're just barely hanging on, you know, just like trying to make it through the day. To blame it on the random civilian, on the random, you know, people in Gaza for the actions of Hamas is wrong. I agree. But you have to carry the same standard for Israel then. Yeah, this is wrong. Branding the prisoner is wrong. That doesn't mean that Israel as a government is telling people to do this. It doesn't mean that all the Israelis are evil. And like, again, this lack of like standard for analyzing is why this guy's a fucking retard.
The Star of David in it. Here's another one, carved into the field with tank tracks. Israel is a country that claims that it's for Jews so much that the Israeli Supreme Court does not let Jews register their nationality on their identity card as Israeli because it says that doing so would undermine Israel's Jewishness because according to the Israeli state, Israelis don't exist, only Jews exist. So Israel is a state that says it's for Jews, by Jews, and carries out endless atrocities against everyone in the region, not just Palestinians, pretty much everyone they attack. And it does this while saying it's for Jews, by Jews, as I just said. And Ethan Klein removes all of this context because that's all of these people know about Jews. These people see Israel say, I'm murdering you because I'm Jewish, I'm genociding you because I'm Jewish, and they say, well, okay, I'll take you at your word. And for Ethan Klein, the problem isn't that Israel says and does those things. It's that these dirt poor people living under the boot of the worst imperialism in the world, some of the worst atrocities in recent modern history have been carried out in Yemen especially. And he's like, whoa, they say they hate Jews? Whoa.
Some of the worst atrocities in human history has been done in Yemen. Oh, so not Israel. Okay, thank you. No. Oh, no, sorry, I forgot. Israel is controlling the Saudis. Israel is controlling the US. Israel, like, there's no one else there involved. It's just Israel are so evil that even a country that they have practically nothing to do with because there's like 2 countries between them and a fucking like waterway, like a huge lake or whatever it is, right? And has absolutely practically no interaction with Israel, like directly. But because of Israel, Yemen is suffering under the Houthis. Sounds about right. Maybe he misspoke. Maybe he meant like the worst atrocities that are happening in Gaza, like providing the people of Gaza work inside of Israel. That is one of those very, very atrocious things. Like, Israel should never have allowed Gazans to work in Israel to like make a living. Yeah, evil fucking bastards.
They must have just sprouted out of the ground, anti-Semitic. It's appealing to basically, like, as I said earlier, this ignorant idea in the West that, like, that Jews are, like, perpetually, like, concentration camp inmates, basically. When in the context of Israel is a state that says, we are Jewish, we do all this for Jews, while massacring, genociding people. Leaving that context out of something like this is utterly insane. It is utterly insane to expect, like,
wait. Did he just say literally?
Israel is a state that says, we are Jewish, we do all this for Jews, while massacring, genociding people.
No, I'm pretty sure that's nowhere near their charter. No one in Israel says that. No one in the government says that. You say it. You are saying it because you just hate Israel for some weird ass belief that the West is evil.
People. Leaving that context out of something like this is utterly insane. It is utterly insane to expect like random poor people in Yemen or Palestine or whatever to see Israel doing that and to have like this enlightened perspective where they're like, no, Zionist and Jew is not the same. Particularly when you yourself equate Zionist with Jew. You do it all the time. I just want to show you a tweet that he showed earlier that I think I skipped over. So here Ethan Klein puts a tweet that Rashid Al-Khalad sent out saying, the execution that we carry out on all Zionists with a picture of like a guy impaled on a pike. Here's what Ethan Klein said about it.
To kill Jews and put their heads on pikes.
So apparently, according to Ethan, he said that he wants to kill Jews and put their heads on pikes. The tweet says the execution that we'll carry out on all Zionists.
Well, no, according to Ethan, he later explains that the reason he's saying it is because this Houthi guy, who's not a Houthi but is actually a Houthi, he treats Zionists and Jews the same. Yeah, some sentences he uses Jews, some sentences he uses Zionists, but the meaning is always the same. So he's basically using them interchangeably.
So Ethan Klein is himself equating Zionists with Jew. And he's not anti-Semitic for that, apparently. Yet other people who take Israeli Zionists at their word that they represent all Jews and do the same, they are anti-Semitic.
So that is a really dishonest take. At least so far he was honest in like what he's like taking, like what he's talking about. This is completely dishonest take because he clearly says later, or even earlier, that this Houthi pirate is actually equating Zionists to Jews. That's why he's using that.
It's fine for him, but it's not fine for them. And this guy, by the way, he does differentiate between Jews and Zionists. He's posted a long thread. He shouldn't have had to. A long post on Twitter where he explained that he doesn't hate Jews. He just hates Zionists. He said, "I would like to clarify that any Jewish person, Christian or Muslim, or any other who's innocent, we will never hurt them. We protect and ask them what they want. We stand for the oppressed, which is why we oppose Zionism."
Okay. I want to see any Jewish person go anywhere near these guys. I mean, they took random Chinese or Japanese crew members captive for a year. So I wonder what they would do if it was a Jewish person on board.
Zionist ideology that is wreaking havoc upon innocent Palestinians and Lebanese. This guy's a 19-year-old who grew up in a country destroyed by war, attacks everywhere by some of the most powerful countries in the world, and he gets this. Ethan Klein doesn't.
I love that he actually believes what this guy says. It's like, do you really think they differentiate between Zionist and Jew? Let's be real. Do you really think they believe they can differentiate? Also, like, when did he post that? Yeah, it says 8 hours. Any dates here? October, I'm assuming this 24. Kind of hard to see. Actually, I should be able to see when. Yeah, 24. Okay. October 24. All right. Okay, so a year after the fact, where he probably started getting backlash, or people were starting talking about him too much, he decided to like clarify, right? Sure. Yep.
Jewish person, Christian or Muslim, or any other who's innocent, we will never hurt them. We protect and ask them what they want. We stand for the oppressed, which is why we oppose Zionism. Zionist ideology that is wreaking havoc upon innocent Palestinians and Lebanese. This guy's a 19-year-old who grew up in a country destroyed by war, attacks everywhere by some of the most powerful countries in the world, and he gets this. Ethan Klein doesn't. Embarrassing.
Actually, he's 19 years old, so he probably doesn't get it. He gets what he was told because he's 19 years old. He has probably no critical thought in his body, in his brain. He just knows what he knows because that's what he was fed throughout his whole life. So his reality doesn't actually mean that it's the reality of the situation. So, and technically, he probably doesn't know shit because he is a 19-year-old. He didn't experience anything. He didn't experience anything outside of his own little world. So, probably doesn't know shit. But yeah.
And of course, victory to Islam. I get amused when these terrorists are like, we hate Jews. We want to kill Jews. And then people like Hassan are like, you're a fucking racist.
Dude, why are they terrorists? Why don't you tell us?
For saying that they just want to kill Jews and they're terrorists, man.
What you meant to say is Hezbollah is Muslim.
You're not
Man.
Embarrassing.
And of course, victory to Islam. I get amused when these terrorists are like, we hate Jews. We want to kill Jews. And then people like Hassan are like, you're a fucking racist.
Dude, why are they terrorists? Why don't you...
Because they're terrorists. Because they're terrorists. That's why. They're terrorists because they're terrorists. Oh, you want like the sob story of why they're terrorists? Oh, let's have the sob story of the serial rapist who was abused by his mother, and now because he was abused by his mother, now it's like it's more understandable why he's raping people. Dude, no, like I don't give a shit why you're a fucking terrorist. You are a terrorist. Yeah, like I don't care how justified you are. You are a terrorist. Like it doesn't like fucking matter. Every villain has a sob story. Is it the same size? Ooh, it is. Look at that. Perfect. Oh my god, you won't even tell.
You tell us.
Just for saying that they just want to kill Jews and that they're terrorists, man.
What you meant to say is Hezbollah is Muslim.
You're not thinking deep enough about this topic.
I mean, I literally just refuted this a second ago. He tries to frame it as like them being born anti-Semitic or something, rather than this being a reaction to what Israel does and has done to everyone around them for their entire lives, for generations at this point.
My criticism of the Houthi slogan do not factor into what they are doing towards his anti-Semitic contextualizing matters yet. Really interesting because like
what they're doing means the anti-genocide blockade.
That is such web.
Like, I don't know why. Let's bring up like a comparison here. The British Empire was the most genocidal empire in the world during World War II. Was it bad that the British Empire fought the Nazis? Was that like a bad thing? Because they were so much worse than these Houthis ever were. But does that mean that it was bad for them to do like a good thing, like fight Hitler, fight Italy, fight Japan? I'm sure Ethan would say no, of course not. They were bad, but Hitler was worse, and it's good that they joined in the war against him. It's good that they fought back. What Ethan is basically arguing here is that the anti-genocide blockade being carried out by the Houthis should be discarded and just by default thought of as terrible and bad because according to his narrative, they are horrible people. Which, even if it were true, that wouldn't say anything about whether it's legitimate or not to carry out an anti-genocide blockade against Israeli and Western shipping that is allied to Israel.
Western focused propaganda, like for a Palestinian to arrive at anti-Semitic opinions. Okay.
This is just so nothing, man. There's no substance to this. Most of this is just Ethan confidently saying dumb shit, playing clips that he does not actually feel the need to debunk, and like what he seems to think are like epic editing flourishes that totally own his opponent.
They don't need to read my comment.
Dude, you are not funny. Oh, this is so embarrassing.
Oh, I almost forgot the most fun one. They brought back slavery.
Ethan,
Actually, again, I think many people found the video pretty funny and entertaining. Just because you are biased and you hate him doesn't mean that the video wasn't entertaining. It was pretty fucking entertaining.
Klein, source analysis time. This is the funnest part of the video.
Actually, wait, hold up. Let's see how many people didn't find it funny. Yug Hassan Piker. Let's see, 3.2 million views.
Health, whereabouts.
Yeah, I feel like vast majority think that this was a pretty positive video, a pretty entertaining video. Yeah, so objectively, you're wrong.
Ethan Klein, they brought back slavery. Let's fact check that. Here's evidence of this. 2 headlines. 1, slavery in Yemen by Al Jazeera. Let's look at that though. Slavery in Yemen. Al Jazeera. Let's check it out. Despite government denials, this investigation uncovers evidence of slave labor in Yemen by Al Jazeera. 10 September 20...
To be fair, no matter what Al Jazeera says here, I never trust them for anything, so it doesn't really matter.
2014. Now, which government was in power on the 10th of December 2014? It's the previous government, the one that was Saudi-backed to fight against the Houthis. This video is about slavery in Yemen being covered up and enabled by the previous Yemeni government that the Houthis have overthrown. You stupid motherfucker. This is pro-Houthi propaganda, if anything. What's his other source? This is such a great demonstration of Ethan. Like, he just Googles shit, puts it there, puts a headline there, and acts like he's proven his claims, when he fucking has not. Houthis restore slavery in Yemen. Let's check this one out. So this one is a 2019 article from Arshak al-Awsat. What is Arshak al-Awsat? According to Wikipedia, it is the newspaper of a private company that was founded with the approval of the Saudi royal family and government ministers, which is noted for its support of the Saudi government. The newspaper is owned by a member of the Saudi royal family. So this newspaper is a Saudi newspaper owned and run by the Saudi royal family to post pro-Saudi propaganda. The Saudis are like the main actors in a decade-long assault on Yemen by them and their puppet government in Yemen, which has resulted in something like 400,000 deaths. So is the Saudi government a reliable actor here? Is this something that we should take at face value just based on the headline? No, this is like citing fucking Joseph Goebbels to prove that the Jews are enslaving fucking Aryans or something, dude. Like, that is this bad. These are the people who caused this great suffering, this great genocide in Yemen, and you're just citing them unfucking critically when with this propaganda they put out to delegitimize their enemies. This is like even dumber than the other stuff that he cited. What are the sources for this? Sources close to the group told the paper. Oh, whoa. Several local reports have
Usually how it works, sources close to the source.
confirm this. Yemeni activists have revealed. They told us that there is slavery. A lawyer told us. A civilian told us. Experts confirmed this to us. There is literally nothing here. Oh, don't forget the U.S. State Department said so. You know, the U.S. State Department, the other main actor in this Yemeni genocide, in this genocide of Yemen, fighting against the Houthis, supporting the puppet government. Wow, Ethan, you just straight up cited fucking Saudi pro-genocide propaganda from 2019, by the way, when this genocide was still in full swing. Great source, you fucking dumbass. Like, this is insane. This man does not have a critical bone in his body, and this proves it. Like, from the thing of him, like...
Ironic. So ironic.
Positively citing an embarrassing clip where he just took like a propaganda documentary about Uyghur death camps at face value. Now to this with him just taking straight up made up Saudi propaganda at face value, as well as not even like looking at what that Al Jazeera video was actually about, which was about the slavery under the government that the Houthis are fighting and have largely deposed. Absolutely fucking unbelievable. And he just moves on like he's proven this. Dude, this took him like months to make. Just for a comparison of the quality of like the research, my latest video took me maybe 12 days to make. It's almost as long as this. And I don't know how this took him two fucking months to make. Like, it just...
amount of editing, finding all the clips. Like, he's not reading off like just like one newspaper. Like, just finding the videos of Hassan probably took the longest time.
Just further proves the level of incompetence that Ethan Klein operates under. Like, he's just so dumb, man. What else is there to say about this? Uncritically citing Saudi government made up propaganda and presenting...
Yes, because Googling an article, reading it, and making a 2-hour video about it is taking the same amount of effort as finding multiple fucking clips of Hassan saying something out of like an 8 to 10 hour stream on different days. It's not like he just like, randomly hits a spot, like he knows exactly where the clip is, whatever. No, it's not. He had to have a team watch the whole fucking video, probably like obviously in higher speed, to find the clip that they can use. And they probably found a lot of clips they could use, and threw away a whole lot of them. But let's talk about critical bone in your body, right?
Presenting a documentary from 2014 about the previous government as if it's about the Houthis. He's just going to move on as well. Like, he doesn't even engage with the sources, doesn't even actually cite anything from within them. Just look at this headline that says what I want to say. Look at this negative thing about these people who I want to paint negatively. That's it. Anyway, so I'm just going to make my own little article here about Ethan Klein, using the same standard of evidence that he used for him saying that Houthis restored slavery. This is the name of the news service. We are the Hassan Piker, the state news service, 100% unbiased. Okay? This is 100% unbiased news. And the headline is going to be, Ethan Klein confirmed restores slavery to Beverly Hills. This is absolutely 100% objective news. You guys cannot say anything about this not being objective. Silence. Sources told us that Ethan Klein has restored slavery to Beverly Hills. Experts confirm this. A donkey in the street even made numerous noises when we asked if it would confirm the heinous crimes of Ethan Klein. As far as I'm concerned, this is dispositive evidence that Ethan Klein has returned slavery.
It's actually pretty funny that he made this, but yeah. I mean, he's right. That is the source, but like honestly, that's how I treat Al Jazeera, and let's be real, he's probably taking the word of Al Jazeera when it comes to anti-Israeli propaganda multiple times. So, you know, like treat the source the same way in both cases and we'll be fair, but let's be real, he wouldn't. Because when the source says what he wants it to say, like Al Jazeera, he would likely cite them. When it says something that he doesn't want it to say, then he's like, oh, well, they're not reliable source. I know he's not copying Al Jazeera, he's talking about the Saudi newspaper, whatever.
To Beverly Hills, and we need to get everyone looking into this immediately. The Hassan Piker State News Service would not lie about this. Do you think that the Hassan Piker State News Service would just make up sources that told them? Experts, they would even just interview a fake donkey? They would never do that. How dare you insinuate that? Oh my god, this is the brain of Ethan Klein, the critical thinking skills of Ethan Klein and his audience. Like, none of them question this at all. Incredible, man.
The law is doing what Luffy would do.
That lines up with leftist values. All right, so these guys are clearly the bad guys. So my question is, how does Hassan cover such a genocidal...
Clearly the bad guys? Bad guys relative to who? The Yemeni government backed by Saudis committing genocide? Or Israel?
Both sides can be bad. It doesn't really matter. Like, you can have two bad sides in a war. Like, that's not, like, yeah. I can easily say NATO are the bad guys and Russia are the bad guys in the same war that they're fighting one another. NATO encroaching on Russian territory is an evil move. Not evil, but like that's a bad move, right? Russia retaliating is also a bad move. Why? Because civilians die. So they're both the bad guys in that scenario. Wow. Okay. They're both evil. Woo.
Well, the USA also backing those Saudis doing the genocide. Relative to who? Relative to those people, these are the good guys, even if everything that you said about them was true, including the slavery. Because that's how bad those people are, that they would be better than them. Like, come on, dude. You're just so fucking dumb. Like, these guys are the bad guys. Who are the good guys then, Ethan?
Misogynistic, homophobic, terroristic organization.
Doesn't have to be a good side.
These were the people that the Saudis were killing, by the way. Just so you know, these fucking musically gifted individuals. Yeah.
Why do you show us him talking about the Saudis killing them? I mean, you provide no context about him. Has he even mentioned the Saudis? I don't think so.
Wait. Hold up.
Saudis were killing, by the way. Just so you know, these fucking musically gifted individuals. Yeah.
Why do you show us him talking about the Saudis killing them? I mean, you provide no context about him. Has he even mentioned the Saudis? I don't think so.
What's that have to do with anything right now?
This is literally a song about their rebellion against the US Saudi backed.
Yes, it's called a terrorist propaganda song. Yes. Yeah, they're using music for the propaganda. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Hassan calls it a music video because they're musically gifted, but this is not musically gifted.
Yemeni government, which they defeated, and the only way that a group like this could possibly win in such a situation, given the pervasive international support that the former Yemeni government had, is due to their much greater local support. And you should be asking questions about why that is instead of just trying to delegitimize this.
That's right, my friend. Hassan just played straight up terrorist propaganda without even being there to analyze it.
What makes them terrorists? You have not
because Twitch is a US company following US laws. US designated them as a terrorist organization, therefore you are showing terrorist propaganda, therefore they are terrorists. I think it's pretty straightforward. I don't know, man. I feel like it's pretty straightforward.
Explain what makes them terrorists. Why are they terrorists? What is it that makes them terrorists? The US government said so? Is that because that's the only thing you've actually cited so far?
That's the only thing you need to cite. The US government considers them as terrorists. Unless there's like a revolt inside of the US and like the government shifts and like they no longer designates them as not necessarily a revolt, but until the US doesn't stop designating them as a terrorist organization, they are in effect a terrorist organization so long as you are located in the US, which Twitch is located in the US.
Can you provide us like evidence of a terrorist attack that they have done?
Surely this must be against terms of service. Twitch does not allow content that depicts, glorifies, encourages, or supports terrorism or violent extremist actors. For example, displaying or linking terrorist or extremist propaganda, even for the purpose of denouncing such content. Denouncing? Okay, but what's the rule for endorsing it? Is that okay?
What makes this terrorist?
The answer is yes, as Hassan was never punished for this blatant violation of Twitch community.
He has not done anything to show us that they are terrorists.
He doesn't have to. They're a designated terrorist organization. That's it. Like he doesn't have to prove he doesn't have to go against the US government of why they decided that they're a terrorist organization. They are. That's it. Like they are a designated terrorist organization. If you have a problem with them being designated as a terrorist organization, go to your government and complain about it and protest that they need to change it. Until then, they are.
You're supposed to accept it by default because they're Arab, basically. That's it.
No, not because they're Arab. Because
why are they terrorists?
Not because they're Arab, because he doesn't consider Yemenis as terrorists. He considers the Houthis, which are part of, the Yemeni resistance, right? The Yemeni resistance is a terrorist organization, not Yemen, right? He doesn't consider all Palestinians terrorists, just Hamas, right? So not because they're Arab. So now you're just completely, ruining your own image, trying to, say something that is actually not true to what Ethan has been saying. So,
Ethan, why can't you include evidence of this claim in your video? Everything that he claims, it's like he just expects it to be self-evident. He does not at all, ever, actually provide any reason to believe him unless it's just like, I think this, I'm going to call them this. This is terrorism. China is doing genocide. I don't have to prove any of my claims because I know that my audience is going to be perceptible to this by default. They don't know why either. I don't know why I believe this. I just do.
Guidelines. Got it. So denouncing terrorism is bad. Don't do that. Endorsing terrorism is good. Okay, got it, Twitch.
Why
are they terrorists? Can you tell us?
This is a 3-minute video of... What do you mean a music video? When you said music video, I'm expecting like bags out, but Chris Brown dancing,
Maybe next is going to complain that NMP LOL is going to be upset that he's watching a terrorist propaganda video.
No, they do they do musicals. They're very musical people.
Are you being serious?
Dog, what do you
What?
want? You think I made this?
I know they're singing, but I'm seeing his guns and shit. This isn't a music video, Hassan.
No, it is. They do musicals about their fucking their actions all the time.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. I've got this. Instead of terrorist propaganda, let's call it musicals.
They do musicals.
Instead of violent jihadists.
Violent jihadists, dude, he's just throwing negative adjectives and nouns at them. He doesn't provide any proof of his claims. Why are they terrorists? More than anything else, why are they terrorists but the IDF isn't, Ethan? Why is Rashid a terrorist but Hila Klein isn't? I'd love to talk to you live about that. We could do some comparisons and we can get to the bottom of your claims here rather than you just saying them with no fucking evidence.
Let's call them musically talented people.
They're very musical people.
Are you being serious?
Guys, let's just use our brains. Fiddler on the Roof.
Here's the best example of the normal person's perspective of why they are terrorists. NMP LOL has nothing to do with politics, doesn't care about politics, doesn't watch politics, nothing. Okay? And when he sees that video, he knows it's not a musical. He doesn't outright say it, but you can tell by what he's saying that he thinks that is a terrorist propaganda. Not necessarily maybe in those words, but he definitely knows it's not a music video. I wonder why. Somebody who has nothing to do with politics probably doesn't understand anything about geopolitical situations, especially Israel-Palestine, which is probably one of the most complex ones. And he can clearly see that is not a music video, that is what seems to be a terrorist propaganda.
physical people. I know that.
Are you being serious?
Guys, let's just use our brains. Fiddler on the Roof, Wicked, Alexander Hamilton, man. There's no reason we...
Oh my god, he's so not fucking funny and just
This is actually pretty fucking funny. Yeah.
stupid. This is so embarrassing.
Can't put these Houthis on Broadway.
Well, they go, listen, you want to fucking bring a ship through here? We're going to take it. So that's exactly what the Houthis start doing. They start fucking sending in helicopters onto fucking ships. Bro, they fucking, look at this. They got the Palestinian flag that they painted under the helicopter.
This is the main point I want to see him debunk. This is probably what I'm gonna end the video after this point.
They fucking they start overtaking the ships. And they're like, guess what, dog? No more trade to Israel. If you are sending ships into Israel, if you are owned by an Israeli subsidiary, if you're owned by an Israeli corporation.
Now, if Ethan was pro-Palestinian, as he claims himself that he's pro-Palestinian, blah, 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 he's just a two-state solutionist, he would support this act. He would support a blockade against shipping owned by Israel, going to Israel, or related to an Israel-supporting state like its many Western allies. He would be 100% for that. He would be 100% for real action taken against the genocide. Not just for that. You know, he would be for like fucking military intervention against Israel to stop a genocide, stuff like that. You'd think that, right? Like, this is relatively mild compared to what is warranted against Israel for its many crimes, particularly the recent genocide. This is relatively nothing. This is equivalent to like blockading Nazi shipping in World War II. Or, you know, ships that refuse to identify themselves when trying to pass through a blockade, or ships that were suspected of being linked to the Nazis or their allies or whatever. That was carried out in World War II by the British, by the Americans, by everyone, basically. That's what this is.
Were they kidnapped for a year? When they, you know, did the checkups? Were they kidnapped for like a year? Or like everyone on board?
It's a blockade against shipping related to an ongoing genocide in some way.
In international waters, by the way.
And let's see if he's for this, because you would expect someone who is pro-Palestine to be absolutely be for something as basic as this, putting actual real material pressure on a country and its allies to...
I honestly, if this was actually the case, then I have no problem with it. Them blocking shipments to Israel, they're in active war. Yeah, you gotta do everything you can to win, to give you the advantage. Honestly, it's a great strategic move. However, where where this idea falls apart is when the ship is not Israeli, it's not owned by an Israeli person. Okay, the ship doesn't go towards Israel. This kind of idea also really falls apart. And again, international waters, it's not your territory. This territory protected by basically like, well, I mean, I guess it's not protected by anyone, but technically it's supposed to be protected by everyone. Like, you can't just like do whatever you want in international waters, basically.
Stop doing genocide. That is the most basic pro-Palestinian thing that I could imagine.
We're going to take over your ship. You cannot fucking use this trade route anymore. Guess what, bitch? It's our fucking territorial boundary, and we're going to enforce this until you stop doing genocide in Gaza.
So let's review his claims. His first claim is that the boat is headed for Israel. It's not. It's going from Turkey to India. Next claim is that it's owned by an Israeli company. It's not. It's being chartered by a Japanese company, and the boat's owners are registered in the Isle of Man.
Okay, so this is another great example of Ethan's dumbassery. Let's read this. The ship's registered owner is Galaxy Maritime Ltd, a company registered in the Isle of Man. Its flag state is the Bahamas, and at the time of seizure, the ship was chartered by a Japanese company. Galaxy Maritime Ltd is owned by the Isle of Man Shipping Corporation or something. I don't know, it's cut off. He didn't even include the whole thing. But its beneficial owners are Abraham Ungar and Yael Ungar. Abraham Ungar and Yael Ungar are an Israeli billionaire couple. So this is a ship that is owned by an Israeli company that is registered in the Isle of Man for tax purposes. Now, if you don't know, the Isle of Man is like a tiny island near Britain that is most famous for having these motorcycle races where like 5 people die per year because they just do it on the street and people crash into the wall and get like their brains just blow up. Very funny. But aside from that, do you genuinely believe that this billion-dollar shipping company owned by Israelis is just a normal company from the Isle of Man, Ethan Klein? It's an Israeli...
Is the ship going to Israel or not? Okay, it's owned by a Jew. I'll give you that point. It's owned by an Israeli dude. Okay. Or Israeli couple, I guess. Okay. It's registered in Isle of Man, let's say for tax purposes. Sure, you know. The flag is the Bahamas. Doesn't matter. Okay, all of this, like, okay, I'll give you that. It is an Israeli owned company. Okay. Does it go to Israel? Are the crew Israeli or Jewish at all?
Israeli fucking company registered in the Isle of Man. The Houthis know this. This is public information. Everyone knows this. That's why they stopped this. It's an Israeli company.
So why were the captives? Why were the crew hostages for like over a year? They have nothing to do with this. They're just crews. They're just the crew.
And good on them for doing so. Thank you. He's trying to frame this as terrorism. It's like he spent the last 10 minutes poisoning the well against the Houthis.
Them stealing the ship, in my opinion, is not terrorism. Them kidnapping the crew for over a year is terrorism because the crew has nothing to do with it.
To make you hate them because they're misogynistic.
Them stealing the ship is just being a pirate. Pirates are not terrorists, technically, right? They're pirates. They steal shit. Well, sometimes they usually also kill the thing, right? But it's like they were held for a year. The captives were held for a year. As far as I know, there were no terms for release. They were just held for a year for no reason.
Slavery, all of this shit, based on spurious or just outright falsified sourcing. Because he knows that the weakest part of his argument is this part, where he actually has to try to justify him opposing a blockade designed to put pressure on countries that are carrying out or supporting a genocide, which doesn't really mesh with him being pro-Palestinian. So he needs.
The ship played absolutely zero pressure in putting pressure on Israel. Like it put zero pressure on Israel. This specific ship had nothing to do with putting pressure on Israel. There was nothing on board that goes to Israel. Like the most it would have been is that the deal that Abraham and Yael would have gotten from, let's say, this trade on this ship, they could have used that money to support Israel. However, they're already billionaires. So this is not even putting a dent into their finances.
Needs to try to find a way around this. And the way that he's trying to do that is by claiming that the Houthis are just attacking random ships with nothing to do with Israel. And the first ship that he cites as evidence of this is one that's fucking Israeli. Just straight up owned by Israelis. You fucking moron.
I'd like to remind everybody that the crew that's kidnapped in this video has been missing for over a year now with zero updates on their health, whereabouts.
This is completely incorrect. Galaxy Leader Crew was released about 2 weeks before he uploaded this video.
Yeah. It's still been... Again, when he released the video is not when he finished making the segment for that part of the video. So, yes, this guy was released. This is completely untrue. He was actually released two weeks before you released this video, which would still make it over a year of captivity.
On the 22nd of January, the crew were released, and the crew were visited by the International Red Cross twice, and it was verified that they were in good health by them. They were released completely unharmed. You are just spreading...
After how long? How long were they in captivity? There's more than physical harm. Okay? They're a year away from their family. They're a year away from, their homes. There's probably financial harm that is being done to them, where they live, if they have property that they are not maintaining for this year of captivity.
Pure misinformation there.
Or anything. That lines up with leftist values.
Also, it is completely and utterly ridiculous, by the way, to frame it being the fault of the Houthis. That this blockade, which was announced beforehand, also obviously is going to involve the crew of the ships.
But they have no right to a blockade for international waters. That doesn't matter. You can announce all the blockades all you want. You don't have any right for international waters. It's not your territory.
Whose fault is it when you try to run a blockade being carried out against genocide and the crew inevitably gets caught up in that? Is it the fault of the shipping companies?
Of the Houthis. Of course it's the fault of the Houthis. What do you mean?
For running the blockade, or is it the fault of the Houthis for doing what is ultimately, obviously, a good thing? It's the fault of the shipping companies, obviously, and it's fucking ludicrous.
No, it's actually the fault of the person making the blockade, especially when it's international waters. What? Is it the fault of the person who's standing in the middle of the road trying to block traffic, or is it the fault of the car that accidentally ran him over?
You are so opposed to any action for Palestine, any real action for Palestine, that you're against even this Like, it's desperate grasping for straws. It's desperately grasping for something to point to delegitimize absolutely anything. He's against literally everyone who fights for Palestine. Every single resistance group, every country, every government. He opposes them. He doesn't even like say, okay, I support this action that they do, but I'm against the government in general. I'm against this group in general, but I'm for this thing that they did. No. He's against all of it. He's against every single one. This is someone who claims to be pro-Palestine. Yet he's against everyone who fights for Palestine. He's against every single action for Palestine. He has not seen an action carried out for the purpose of defending the Palestinian people that he was not against. It's so ludicrous to be like, oh, well, I guess there's crew in the ship, so you should not be allowed to stop the ship from running your blockade.
You can stop the ship all you want, doesn't matter. Like you can steal. Like stealing a cargo ship doesn't make you a terrorist. Kidnapping the crew, which, by the way, if you let the Red Cross see them, then you might as well let the Red Cross take them too, because you have no purpose of keeping the crew hostage. There's no reason to keep them hostage. So,
being carried out to put pressure on countries doing genocide. It's about on the level of arguing that you shouldn't attack a military base because there's contracted cleaners.
It's not completely not an equal fucking the same level of comparison. What the hell does a cruise ship that is privately owned by, I guess, Israeli citizens, okay, I don't even know if they're citizens anymore, like if they reside in Israel, they might be supporting Israel, okay, like he didn't really prove that they are, right, just Israeli billionaires, Jewish billionaires, okay, and comparing their trade ship, their cruise ship that they're sending to, I don't know, fucking like Japan or some shit like that, has anything to do with Israel, and comparing that to like a military target, you cannot compare the two. These are like completely not the same thing. That's so stupid.
Is there who are civilians. Obviously, any action has the potential for collateral damage, and in this case, the collateral damage was relatively minimal. No one died, no one was hurt. As soon as the ceasefire was announced, the crew was released, the blockade was called off.
Why did you need the crew to stay there? They're not political targets. There's no bounty on them. There's bounty. There's no like no trade for their heads. Like they're not captives of war. They like legit have nothing to do with this situation. They are not even like, they don't even live anywhere near Israel or whatever, right? It's like they have nothing to do with this situation. They have nothing to do with the war. It's like me kidnapping a random Australian in a war in China versus Russia, right? I just kidnap a random Australian. It's like, oh well, we're just holding him here until the ceasefire. Like, why? What does he even have to do with this war? Nothing. It's just, we need hostages, so we got one.
Very simple.
Hassan's third claim is that this attack happened in their territorial waters, which is also a lie. It happened...
You know why? Actually, you know why they kept them hostages? Because they were hoping maybe like the Houthis could get bombed or something by Israel. Because they did get bombed by Israel at some point. I believe they destroyed some gas units or whatever, or oil units. So they were hoping that Israel would actually like attack them, and then they could use the hostages to see, Israel is killing these hostages too. I 100% believe that is the case.
In international waters. Hassan is lying for
what happened in international waters? Who fucking cares? I don't give a shit if the blockade was in their territorial waters, technically, or in international waters, slightly outside of their territorial waters. Still 100% legitimate. What?
No, this actually makes it illegitimate, technically. No, it's not their territory to defend. It's not territory to attack. Like, yeah. So again, they are Houthis. Like, they don't really have territory. It's like whatever you can take is yours, type of mentality. Which I do agree with. So that's why I'm like, I don't really care that they took the ship. It's more about the hostages. Right? There's no reason to hold the hostages that have nothing to do with this. Have no connection to Israel. The ship, honestly, I think it's a good target. Like, let's be real. It's a good target. Even if it only had like resources that they could use and has nothing to do with Israel, I think it's like fucking fair target. I don't give a shit. Like, yeah, these people also need to survive to fight their battles. So I'm not saying like they are right or wrong, but it's like I can see like, this is just for their own survival. And that one I'm like, yeah, that's fine, right? Like I wouldn't call that an act of terror. It just, I can call it a crime, but like, man, I'm not gonna, blame a child for stealing bread, because it's gonna die of starvation tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, it's a crime, but at the same time, I mean, like, I understand it. So yeah, in their case, stealing the ship, understandable, totally fine. The crew, not very understandable, not totally fine. Unless you want to use them as human shields or like victims of the war with Israel, and like Israel somehow like bombed them and killed them. Unless that is the case, I don't see why you had to keep them there for a year.
What do you fucking think is permissible action to take to fight a genocide in Gaza? What do you think is permissible? You don't seem to support anything, not even this. He opposes this because he...
To be fair, what is permissible is not even the question. I don't think permissible is really the question we should be asking. What is permissible during a time of war? In my opinion, everything is permissible. Because the winning side is the one who dictates history. There's plenty of atrocities that happen throughout human history when it comes to wars. Everything is technically permissible. Like, you can try and write as many rules as you want against human atrocities, against human rights violations, laws of warfare, yada yada yada. You can write all the shit you want. It doesn't matter. The losing side is going to try and take any advantage they can over the winning side to win the war. It's a fight for survival. There are no real rules. You can try and make rules, but like, let's be real, when push comes to shove, these rules mean jack shit. So there are no rules to war. You think there are, I'm sorry, you're a bit naive. People will do whatever they can to win. It is what it is.
He supports what Israel does ultimately, and is against whatever is done for Palestinians. So that's why he opposes this. Don't fall for this shit. He has not seen a single action for Palestine that he's not opposed to.
The Houthis like he's being paid. And honestly, at this point, is he?
You are factually being paid to make this video by a billionaire Zionist businessman who...
He thinks because he's sponsored by ExpressVPN that he's actually paid to make this video. Pretty sure that's not exactly how this works. Pretty sure he made more money from the views in total than he did from the ExpressVPN. I think.
Donates millions to the IDF, and you have the gall to say that like there's a global Houthi conspiracy to do pro-Houthi propaganda.
But no, the record. No, I'm not quoting propaganda. This is like a hostile. They're streaming this? Yeah, they're flexing. What? And they're coming in hot with guns. Yeah.
Why am I supposed to think that this is bad?
Yeah, but you have to understand, this is a deterrence. Israeli society is going to start getting upset. They're going to be like, I can't get my treats. I can't get my Amazon Prime deliveries. What the fuck is going on?
Honestly, this has nothing to do with showing that it's bad. It's showing how stupid Hassan is by believing this. And that's the point Ethan makes right after this.
I hate this. Israel sucks. I'm leaving Israel. That's the goal.
I find it disturbing that Hassan thinks that a slowdown of imports is going to cause Jews to flee Israel. 80% of Israel...
Jews to flee Israel? You see what...
I love that he's taking that that specific sentence instead of the broader point of that he's making, but sure.
What I said about just reframing Israelis as Jews, like a blockade against a country carrying out...
they clearly don't, like, who do you think will flee Israel? Why would the Arabs flee Israel? The Arabs are clearly, like, they're not the target, right? Jews are the target here. They're not, the charter doesn't say death to America, death to Israel, death to curse upon the Jew, and death to any Arab who supported Israel. That's not what the thing says. It says the war is against the Jews, especially the Jews in Israel, but overall the Jews. So yeah, that's exactly what it means. That, like, he's not even wrong by saying it.
Genocide, and he's like, dude, are you saying that you want Jews to flee Israel? You want to materially impact the lives of the people of a country that...
Literally what Hassan was saying. Yes. He's saying the goal here is to make the Israelis flee.
Out genocide?
Are you start getting upset? They're going to be like, I can't get my treats. I can't get my Amazon Prime deliveries. What the fuck is going on? I hate this. Israel sucks. I'm leaving Israel. That's the goal.
I'm leaving Israel. That's the goal. Literally Hassan's words. To which Ethan replies,
I find it disturbing that Hassan thinks that a slowdown of imports is going to cause Jews to flee Israel. 80% of Israel...
It's exactly what he means. That is exactly what he means. And then this guy loses his shit. It's like, oh my god, he equated Israelis to Jews. well, they're the only ones in Israel who are being targeted, realistically speaking, right? I don't hear about terror attacks or missiles being fired towards Kseife. Okay, I hear it about being targeted into Tel Aviv, not really the Yaffo region. Okay, Ashdod, Ashkelon, all the like highly populated Jewish area, not so much the Bedouin settlements that are all around those areas. Usually those guys don't really get a whole lot of terror threats. Usually it's the the cities where majority population is Jewish. I think maybe it's a coincidence, it's like, oh, well, there's just more people there. That's why we're shooting rockets in that direction.
Jews, the flame really impact a. How dare you? Just Jewish, the poor little Jewish people. Every single. You know that?
Oh my
you
God,
guys need
so
to come to terms with
stupid.
victims. Israelis live great lives at the cost of Palestinians. An entire people is oppressed.
Oh my God, and if you're using that fucking logic, everybody's living great lives at the cost of somebody else's suffering. Like, it's just such a stupid fucking argument, man. Oh, Israelis are living at the expense of Palestinians. Bro, you live in Israel, you don't think about Palestinians, okay? You just live your own fucking life, okay? Oh, Americans are living great lives at the expense of the natives. Bro, like, and billionaires have very happy life at the expense of their workers. Oh shit! And some men live a very great life at the expense of women that they abuse. Okay, this is like normal. It's not good, but it's normal. Like, this is not like fucking outworldly fucking behavior. Okay, everybody is living more comfortably at the expense of somebody else's suffering, okay? Children live comfortably at the expense of their parents trying to figure out how to survive the month. Like, this is such a stupid fucking argument,
so that they
man.
can thrive. And Ethan Klein is framing them as little more than poor little Jewish babies.
No. You're reframing what Ethan just said to make it seem as if he's saying it, which, by the way, doesn't even come close to what he's saying. Has nothing to do with it. But man, this person's just so fucking
and
vile.
even when
Oh
that
my
country is
God.
literally carrying out genocide, it's
Again,
still...
by the way, never has the point been proven that Israel is actually committing genocide. He just keeps saying it, but like, at no point is there a proof that Israel is committing genocide. So
somehow wrong for you to take any action against it because they're Jewish.
Israelis were born there and do not have citizenship anywhere else. So where do you want them to go?
What are you talking
Oh, Hassan,
about?
back to
He said that he hopes that Israelis choose to immigrate because ships can't bring
no,
them.
no. He said they leave Israel. He said in the hopes that they're stopping their prime shipments from Amazon and making their life more miserable in Israel, so they would leave. Didn't say immigrate to other places, just said leave. Oh, where's the context, Hassan? If we use this guy's stupid strategy, because yeah, we can try and understand it however we want to understand it, like what he means by leave, right? Ethan is not being very generous in his understanding, which is, again, very understandable because this is a content nuke, not let me try to understand everything Hassan says in the most positive light type of video, okay? Obviously. So, like, yeah, no, Hassan said we're gonna make their life more miserable, so they choose to leave. Where the fuck are they gonna go? You think they can just immigrate, like, to anywhere they want? It's like, oh, I'm Jewish, so I can just go back to wherever, or I can just, like, oh, I can just go to the US without any fucking documents. Oh, Canada will just take me in. Dude, fuck no. That's like many years of fucking progress, like 7 years for a lot of them. Okay, 5 to 7 years of paperwork of lawyers that in order to migrate to a different country. So where do you want them to leave exactly?
And their Amazon Prime deliveries, and Ethan Klein's response to that is, you want them to be in the death camps, don't you? This is insane. This is...
Yeah, he took the worst fucking possible scenario, but he's not wrong. Like, where do you expect them to leave? Yeah, this is a hyperbolic example, and I love that he only takes the hyperbolic example by Ethan, not by Hassan, not his own hyperbolic examples. But yeah, whatever.
It's utterly fucking crazy. This guy's such a fucking spectacular moron. Oh my God.
He still didn't answer the question where he wants them to leave, by the way.
Why? You think that Israel should be put under pressure to the point where the Israeli populace turns against the government because they can't get their Amazon Prime deliveries?
It does, like, first of all, that wasn't even the argument. The argument was that they just leave. Okay. Second of all, if that was the argument, what then? Lay down their arms? Just die for the Palestinians?
As a result of a blockade? You want Jews to be put into death camps, don't you? What a fucking insane moron.
Poland, or back to the Arab countries they were forced out of.
Israel sucks. I'm leaving Israel. That's the goal.
Hey, man. As I went over earlier, Ethan, there was actually an offer given to the Arab Jews who you say were forced out of Arab countries. I went over this in my video response to you, which I know that you've watched. So yeah, they could...
How does he know he watched it? I don't even know if Ethan knows who this guy is. Like, I know you watched it. How do you know he watched it? What? Like, how are you so self-important? Like, bro, I don't expect this guy to watch this video responding to him. Like, I'm a nobody. I have like fucking 200 subscribers or maybe 300, right? Like, I'm nowhere near this guy's level in views. I have absolutely no reason to believe he would watch this video, right? Would be great if he does, but like, I have absolutely no reason to believe he would. Same as like your 300k viewer with 186k subs talking to a 5.5 million sub, 3.2 million viewer content creator. He doesn't have to know who the fuck you are. You're nobody to him. What are you talking about?
Return there.
The
thing
self-importance.
Is obviously, though, that they don't. You know why they don't? Why would they? They live in a country that is for their ethnicity, by their ethnicity. They live great there. You know, they live on other people's land, on other people's houses. Millions of people are oppressed for their benefit. Why would they want to go back to some random other country and like get like their grandpa's house back or something? Not only that, but the Israeli government has prevented them from doing this. The Israeli government has always been against people doing that because it would legitimize the Palestinian.
Well, why would they, this is going to be the last point, why would they not want to go back to a country that even offers them whatever they want, because there's no guarantees with those countries, as it has been with the history of the Jew, okay? No matter where they were, no matter which country accepted them, at some point that country kicked them out, okay? And it led all the way, for 3,000 years, led all the way to World War II. Israel is the only technically safe haven for the Jew. Right? Because it accepts Jews regardless. It will never kick them out. It will, like, the whole point of that country is to not have, to not kick out the Jew, to not abuse the Jew, to not treat them as secondary citizens, okay? To have a country for the Jew. That is actually the purpose. It's a safe haven for all Jewish people. That is the purpose of Israel. Okay, you might not like it if you support Palestine, but that is the purpose of Israel. That's why I'm also not a fan of the two-state solution, because that is not the purpose of Israel. Okay, if they can earn this, if Palestinians can earn a two-state solution, good on them. But honestly, I'm vehemently against it. Okay, it's like America is for Americans, Israel is for Jews. Okay. Because America is not a religious, right? It's like not religious, but like the purpose of that country is a safe haven for Jews. That is literally the main purpose why that country even exists. Okay, that's why all Jews automatically get citizenship, even if they have never stepped foot in Israel. Okay, because it's a safe haven, and it is a place where the Jew would never be prosecuted for being a Jew. And that is the whole purpose of Israel. Anyways. I think I'm done with this guy. He's just reiterating the same points. He just keeps his bias against Ethan alive and well for probably the next 2 hours. I will give him the ship point. He does. He did debunk Ethan. So we have one debunk in 2.5 hours. We have one debunk of Ethan, which comes to the ship, and one hyperbole that happened somewhere in the beginning, where Ethan said something hyperbolic that was, I think he was equating something to genocide. I don't remember what it was. Look at part 1 of this to figure out. It's been like, a week since I made that video. So in 2.5 hours, he debunked kind of one point. The ship part, in my opinion, is not terrorist attack. It is a crime, sure, but in my opinion, you know, pirates stealing food for survival and resources, I'm not gonna call that terrorism. However, I will call terrorism when you kidnap the crew that has nothing to do with it and hold them for over a year, and for no reason other than probably use them as human shields in case of an Israeli attack, to blame Israel for killing these hostages, right? Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, I'm done with this guy. I'm not gonna record any more of this. Honestly, like, I just can't be bothered. This guy's literally insane. So yeah, thanks for watching. That was what, part 5, I think, and I think that is 4 parts too many. All right, we're done with this. Okay, I can finally turn this on, so I don't have to keep track of like where I actually stopped the video. All right, what is this? If I jump to a mission with one of my cracked out super end game meta build speed frames like Titania or Zephyr, and I see a teammate with an MR under 10, I will never move more than 1 room away from the group. I'll use my speed and kit to go clear out the 10 enemies in short dead end hallways real quick and let the newbie tackle the main path. And they still get those moments of seeing a crazy powerful frame obliterate a group in one shot as a sort of here's what you're capable of, but it's off to the side and not getting in their way of stealing their kills. Yeah, I mean, thank you, but like, I'm pretty sure most people don't do that. It's like the whole like Final Fantasy like no spoilers thing, and then it's like you join a guild and like all they do is talk about stuff. Anavar turned her into a man. Yeah, I can see that. Wait, Immortal Guide to Saren Prime Endgame Steel Path. Umbral Saren. Oh, okay. Wait, what? New coda, Motivore, Bleeds. Oh, I don't know the quotas yet. It was
Trump
this.
Tower is being taken over by protesters. So Trump Tower right now, look at this. And so,
Is this inside the Trump Tower?
and violent leftists who stormed Trump Tower in New York are getting arrested.
Yeah,
what they
makes
need
sense.
to do with these people is they need to actually charge them. Like, the problem is
Yeah, arresting is nothing. You need to charge them. Yeah. But it's New York, so they're just taking them out of the building, move them like maybe a block away, and like release them.
they get away, they don't get charged. Eventually, you have to charge these people so there is a deterrence for doing this.
Yeah.
There's so many people doing this. 20 years
People are like taking the First Amendment a bit too far. Like, it's like, yeah, there's freedom of speech, but it's like you need to understand that there are limitations to it. You can't do it in privately owned spaces. You don't have a freedom of speech in a privately owned space. You can't say whatever the fuck you want like, you can't go to like work and say whatever the fuck you want and expect not to get fired. You can't go to like somebody's business, make a ruckus and expect not to get like fucking charged. You know, like, yeah, you have freedom of speech, but you don't have the freedom to harass people in their safe spaces. Like, that's
in jail? No, probably a fine, community service, something like that. I don't want to pay money to put this fucking clown in jail. They should go.
well, the thing is, like, when you say like, oh, a fine or like community service, it's like if they don't do that, they go to jail. So either way, like, you still technically threaten them with jail. So it doesn't really work unless jail is on the line.
Up the park. Shouldn't you have freedom of speech? Yeah, last time I walked into a random person's house and I was sitting in their living room yelling. They told me to leave. I said, well, what happened to my freedom of speech? I thought we had
Basically,
freedom
yeah.
of speech here.
Columbia
It's not a
University.
free speech issue. No, it never was. See, these people think this is a very common trope that a lot of these people have, is that if they're protesting something, there's like a gauge of indignation, and they think if they're mad enough and if they're upset about something enough, that gives them effectively the right to just ignore the law. At that point, well, now the law doesn't matter. I can just break whatever law that I want.
Yeah, basically. That's basically it. Free Warframe rifle destroys Steel Path. Let me see this.
Warframe celebrates its 12th anniversary, and the
When are we
next
getting
free loot we're gonna get in the process will be the Dexa Boris. And let me tell you, this rifle really surprised me.
Oh.
So, in today's Warframe guide, we're gonna take a look at it.
I just hate burst fire though. Burst fire sucks ass, man. I hate burst fire.
Discussing both a beginner-friendly build for all the newer Tenno out there, but also I have a super strong Incarnon build that just melts away Steel Path. As always, big shoutouts to
Alright, I'm already not a fan of this. It's literally like the burst and prime. I like burst and prime Incarnon. I hate when I don't have Incarnon because of the burst, right? And it's like the getting enough Incarnon, like to activate the Incarnon mode, is always such a fucking pain in the ass. Meanwhile, Torrid, it's like 1 or 2 shots on an enemy and you get your Incarnon, like with high HP enemy, and you get your Incarnon, you can go Incarnon mode. It's like, I don't know why most of them don't work that way. Like having, like you have to do a weak point shot on the what do you call it, on the Bursten in order to get the Incarnon, and it's like, you know, what if you're fighting infested? Good luck finding the, like, hitting the weak spots, you know. Yeah, not a fan. Nutrient trend is fucking insane. What's this?
Speaking of this, oh, here we go. So, 24-year-old TikToker known for filming videos of himself binge eating.
Wait, that's a himself? I thought it was a chick. That was a really fat chick.
Has died due to health complications.
Unbelievable.
Man.
Who would have thought?
What is he putting gummy bears in there? Oh my god.
I think it was
the
tomatoes.
people encouraging this have been cheering on suicide in slow motion? Yeah, that's true.
Basically,
so
yeah.
there's actually even a term for it. It's called death feederism.
Hi, my name is Rosie, and I was groomed into feederism. Feederism is a kink, and death feederism is what it sounds like. Feeding someone to the point of getting so fat and so big that they die.
This is a huge thing. Basically, so people like to encourage these people to just keep eating food because they want to watch them die. That's it, and they like it. There's like a form of like gratification that they get out of it. Watching a person like this eat themselves to death.
Why exactly do you know all of that if the context came after this stream?
Guys, not only do I know about it, but I probably know a lot about it. I've spent a lot of time on the I was just scrolling through a battle pass, okay? Like, I was just scrolling through a battle pass. Calm down!
Oh, that was good. That was actually good. That was actually good. Imagine PO2's endgame Atlas. This is just funny. Alright, I think we are done with shit for today to watch. I need to prepare more stuff to watch for, I guess, tomorrow and Sunday. I need to make enough videos for the week because I can't record this during the week. Give me a sec.
great. You go to like the mechanic to fix one problem, and then suddenly there's like 10 more problems, and now it actually costs you a lot of money. Like, okay, great, thanks. I'm so happy. I should have like, it's like, you know, you go to the doctor to like check up on like the smallest thing, and then suddenly like they find like fucking 3 cancer cells, right? Like, fuck. I might as well have just like not known. I don't know what that is. Okay, let's see Saren. I don't know how you survive. Level 45. Okay. Alright, so I gotta leave in like 10 minutes, so let's watch this real quickly.
Hey guys, XH here, and today I'm gonna make a guide actual build for the Warframe, and you'll see here we're going to use growing power for the aura slot. We have a higher energy pool with prime flow. Saren already has a high natural base energy, and then we increase it even more. And then I'm using a triple umbral build, which provides a nice balance of health and armor to make her tanky. And then you'll see I've rounded out the rest of the build with range and strength, as well as some duration. For the arcanes, Energize is basically mandatory for this build to help sustain the Gloom. And then Will Augmented gives us extra strength.
Another
We're going to be playing Saren mostly in other missions like...
I don't even care. It has Gloom. I don't have Sevagoth regular. I just don't care. Tetra. Yeah, that's the one that's... Is it Tetra? No, it's something with an X, right? Alright. Oh. What is this?
We were talking quite a bit about, Trump's administration.
What is this? All Democrat video proves conservatives were right about LGB slippery slope. Yeah, that's, I think everyone saw it coming.
Being Democrats and liberals moving left going crazy. So I was reminded of this this video. We're going to do a special segment here just because I pulled it
up. It's like the whole premise is like, you give them an inch to take a mile. It's like, okay, you allow this, they're going to ask for the next thing, and then eventually you have men competing in women's sports, basically.
This is a video from 2008, I believe. It's called Prop 8, the musical. Many of you may have seen. It's got 1.2 million views on... Oh, it's 15 years ago, so it's probably... I'm pretty sure it's 2008 because Prop 8 was in 2008. So this is the liberal worldview 15 years ago, and it's only 3 minutes long. I'm not going to play the full thing. Well, we'll just play it, and then we'll talk about where Democrats were back then, what they claimed, without burying the lead. Basically, you have that meme where it says, if we pass gay marriage, if we enact these liberal policies, conservatives warned back then that you'd get these creepy books in schools. Okay. And Democrats said it was not true, it was never going to happen. And now here we are. So let's play some of this real quick so you guys get the context.
And again, I'm not against gay marriage. I think that is totally fine. But again, I'm also not a religious person. I think if you're a religious person, I totally understand why you're against gay marriages. My point is that, yes, it is like, give an inch. They will keep trying to move left. They will keep trying to be more and more progressive. That has always been the case.
Black and Darcy early church. Yep, absolutely.
It's a brand new bright Obama day. What a time to be black or gay. No, nothing could go wrong. So join us in the song of happy days for the gays. Nothing can go wrong.
Look, nobody's watching. It's time to spread some hate and put it in the Constitution.
Now, how?
Proposition 8.
Proposition 8. Right. People listen to our plea. They'll teach kids about
sodomy.
So, just right there, right away. Yeah. It's important context to what the liberals were saying back then and how they were lying. It's really fascinating, right? There's a little bit more. Listen to how they respond.
Yep. That wasn't right. That's a lie. But it worked, so we don't care.
So it wasn't a lie, and it didn't work because they still got... Well, I think did Prop 8 pass, or was it defeated? It's been a long time.
I think it was defeated, and then didn't the Supreme Court come in or something?
Yeah, it was in California, right? California voted a very, very large margin against Prop 8.
Right.
And then the Supreme Court of California came in and said, no, you can't. So it literally went against the will of the people of California.
I just really want to screen grab that caption where it says, that's a lie. Because here we are now, dealing with the fallout of how, there it is, that wasn't right, that's a lie. And it's literally what happened. And this is a big component of the culture war. And, I was thinking about Obama, voting for him, what he was supposed to bring about. Race relations got worse under Obama. DEI's rapid expansion, further exacerbating tensions between various races. They were wrong about everything that they claimed conservatives were lying about. And now here we are.
Donald Trump ends up winning as a Republican with Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., Elon Musk, many others who were former Democrats who largely believed this BS.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, what ended up happening is they put these creepy books in schools. They started having men compete against women. And no matter what you say, Democrats keep defending it, despite the fact polling shows only around 18% approval for males competing against females in sports.
Teaching
Democrats
about sodomy is actually the
Yeah.
low stuff. Like, yeah, well, you know, man, that's
It almost seems
like
reasonable
that's
at
isn't
this
it
point
quaint
compared to the rest of the
Yeah, isn't it
agenda?
quaint that they were like teaching about sodomy? No, what they're gonna do is they're gonna teach your kid to chop their genitals off.
Yeah.
Yeah, but could you
Scat.
imagine
And-
if they
and
said
grind
that
her
back
for
then?
real.
They'd be like, okay, please stop. You're nuts.
Look, I mean, look at the Bill Maher and I
Yeah,
forget
to
what-
the 100%, they would not be like, oh, what do you mean? What do you mean? We would never do that. We would never try and teach our kids to like cut off their genitals, you know, or take like hormone replacements at such a young age. No, what? That's insane.
What his name is?
I love it.
No, Bill Maher had the conservative guy Prager. Dennis Prager was on.
right.
Dennis Prager was like they're teaching.
They're putting tampons in the men's
They're
bathroom.
teaching that boys can menstruate, and Bill Maher and the whole Democrat, the whole panel was like,
And
you're so silly.
You're so silly.
That
You're so
story,
crazy. Yeah.
that story at the time on Bill Maher's Real Time, and this is my biggest problem with Real Time. It is I don't know why people go on that show, and I think it's because we have an addiction to the past. This is why our politicians are aging. Young people don't step up. Stop glamorizing. Look, with all due respect to Bill Maher, I'm not trying to be a dick, but Real Time doesn't have the ratings. It's an old show, but people, it's been around for 20 years. It's the show. I remember it, and they don't realize when Prager went on the show and said they're putting tampons in the boys' bathroom. Bill Maher said, "Oh, that's for their girlfriends." He said, "No, they're saying men can menstruate." Everybody laughed. That show happened 3 years after the culture war issue about tampons in the men's room. 3 years. So if you look at the initial reporting from all the
Jesus.
prominent progressive outlets and corporate news outlets on the issue of tampons in the men's room, that happened, I think it was like 2015, and the Prager episode was 2018. Bill Maher didn't even know about a major story that was in all of the press 3 years prior. But people keep going on shows like this, and it's because of name and brand recognition. It's brilliant. It's masterful.
Dude, we had
It's actually fucked up that it's been like 3 years and he still wouldn't know about it. But again, I think he was also like purposefully blind to it, you know?
vice president and a nominee or presidential nominee with Tim Walz, who actually put them in his schools and boys, and it was proud of that. And the whole Democratic Party loved that fact. And it was like mainstream on their side.
And now, Bill Maher was having a conversation with a guy from Pod Save America, and he said the Democrats have to get off this gender issue, and they won't do it.
No way.
And Bill Maher was like, how many voters are you... Remember that bit Bill Maher did? Like, I got to give him respect, because he's got a lot of good ones on this. He said, Democrats are defending the right of transgender people of color to be in the prison where for which they identify their sex. He's like, why are they courting the votes of 432 people? Like, this is such a niche issue. It doesn't affect their voter block in any way. The argument they come up with is because we believe in rights for everybody. And it's like, fine, but that's a weird political stance to take where you know you're going to lose and then defend nobody's rights.
I hope they keep doing it forever. Just keep doing it, Democrats. Don't
I mean, maybe that's the real DJ
Seriously,
plan.
honestly, if they keep
Democrats go
doing it.
insane so that Republicans win and then Republicans become the single-party authoritarian government.
Count me in.
No, don't count me in line. That's also a bad idea. The only reason the Republican Party moved so left on the many issues, because Republican Party is like now pretty much the Democratic Party from the 90s, okay? Like almost on every issue, okay? The reason they moved so far left is because of how progressive the left has become, that like in order for the Republicans to win, they had to secede certain discussions, so.
Well, I guess.
I mean, like we do live in a leftist milieu, and it is really bad that to try to do anything right of center gets you plastered as a Nazi or a fascist or whatever.
Yeah.
But if that keeps up, you're going to have more, because right now young people are not afraid of the word fascist anymore. Like Gen Z,
There's a pretty long list of words they're not afraid of.
they
That
don't
we're
care.
always getting canceled words, and they say them for fun now.
Yeah,
Yeah, words lost meaning. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
Like it's fun. Yeah, I have nephews
Well, it's
who
the
are
new
young
punk
20-year-old
rock,
men.
right? It's the new punk rock.
Here's
to
a
say
dude.
the-
You're right.
say
No,
the
it's actually pretty wild. California voted that they literally voted in 2008 that marriage was only valid if it was between a man and a woman.
And the Supreme Court
Of the state,
overruled they
Well,
overruled their democracy.
How come?
You know,
Yeah,
but it was California Supreme Court. Just to get it right, it's California Supreme Court said that. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, it was the California
Yeah.
Supreme Court. But it's like when Elon Musk gets hired to do Doge, they're like unelected officials, right? But it's never applied evenly. They always just make up the rules as they go, and whatever is politically expedient is just what they go with.
100%.
So it was in 2024. Finally, they repealed Proposition 8.
Oh, good.
Isn't that crazy? It's been so long, but only now they finally got rid of it.
Yeah.
California was very much.
Yeah, I gotta go to the gym. Maybe I'll watch this later again and react to it. But